But today was bad. Light work, people. Light work. Seems we're soft all over the pitch. Wow. Good evening, people. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be. Is there some interference on someone's stream there? Let us know who that is first. I think that might be Keith. It was Keith. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of REDFELLAS on a Sunday evening, where we have just witnessed a penalty shootout where Sadio Mane has scored the winning penalty to crown his nation African champions. Whew! Me and Avi just done a watch along. We spoke about all sorts during the watch along, and then suddenly we focused in on that penalty shootout because that needed focusing. What an amazing penalty shootout! What a emotional penalty shootout. Commiserations to our king, Mohamed Salah, and congratulations to our king, Sadio Mane, because they are both our kings as far as we're concerned. We'll also be touching upon the FA Cup, which seems like it was played yesterday, guys, a long time ago. We will touch upon that. In fact, we try to go in on deep on that and discuss the many happy stories that are surrounding that as well. Joining me today, as usual, the crew. How are you, crew, man? How are you guys all feeling, man, before we get stuck into it?
Doing good, thanks, guys. Yeah, doing good. Yeah. Good. It
Solid
was
day.
Yeah, pretty. I mean, shout out to Ev, because Ev got up at 4 a.m. for a 12 o'clock kickoff and then watched the AFCON final. So he's had some day.
Yeah, quite the day. When you said it felt like it was yesterday. It actually did feel like it was yesterday because I woke up at 4 a.m., watched that game, went back to bed because I obviously got no sleep the night before, then woke up for AFCON at around midday my time. So yeah, I'm in like two different time zones right now.
Keith's in two different time zones at the best of times, but over to Keith.
Of course, baby. You know, I'm everywhere and anywhere at any time. Nah, just shout out to Evan, man, to get up and watch that first half and still stay awake for the second half. That takes all the kudos in the world, mate. Because let's just say that to all our non-UK friends and family, the weather has been absolutely atrocious this weekend. It's been disgusting. And shout out to whoever was playing football in these conditions this weekend, because it was terrible.
I saw all four seasons today at Anfield. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I saw the full range. I was like, wow, that's a bit dramatic.
That's what we call a British spring.
And we will touch upon that, because that may have sort of bearing on how the game went, but we'll get into that. But first and foremost, people in the chat, subscribe if you haven't already as you're on your way, and like the stream, and also take note of our sponsors for the REDFELLAS podcast, our amazing sponsors, Elite Me. People, go on their website, check them out, eliteme.com, for all your CBD needs. If you go onto their website, you will see the range of products is expanding and growing all the time. The latest product they have out now is the Elite Me collection of CBD vapes. Any of you vapors out there, go and check out their products. Second to none. The feedback of everyone who's tried their products has been amazing. And you know what? If you go on their website and you type in eliteme.com, and then you type in the discount code LFC15, you get a 15% discount on top of the quality that you're already about to receive. So it's a win-win. You join in, you hear REDFELLAS, what a Sunday night, and then you get 15% off on all your CBD needs. Go check them out. They're the people that sponsors us, and they're great people as well. And they're shipping worldwide, so wherever you are. People. There's only one way place to start. AFCON. Conroy, you joined us fleetingly in and out.
Yeah.
First and foremost, are you from Dunfermline?
No.
Avi told everyone in the chat Now, I knew you're not from Dunfermline, but I wanted to make sure. We will get back to Avi.
I'm about 40 minutes. It's not too far away, but I'm the other. It's Falkirk, so that's about 40 minutes the other side.
We knew you're not from Dun. I knew it. I knew who's chatting shit, but you know, Avi. He told everyone you're from Dunfermline.
Just went with it.
And I just went with it. And he goes, the weather's not great in Dunfermline tonight. Forgiving people. But that's the punk that is Avi for you. Talk to me, man. How do you feel? I'm drained. You know that. I'm so emotionally drained for my Kings. How are you, bro?
Yeah, well, I think we spoke about it. I know I was fleetingly in and out, but we spoke about the way the game went. I didn't want Mane to lose towards the end because I felt like out of the two, missing a penalty 6 minutes in, I feel like that could crush him, to be honest. And then with that penalty coming up to being he's the fifth penalty kick taker, I'm thinking to myself, he's going to miss again. But you know what? It's actually, I think, the best strike he's ever hit in his life, that last penalty. Like, there could have been 3 goalkeepers in, they're not saving it. It was his moment. And I've got to be honest, Grizz, like, I think fair play to Mane, because we will all agree that he's not at the same level as he used to be. And you've got Salah at this rise right now, who's one of the best players in the world. So fair play to Mane. You know, the chance was there, he stepped up and he redeemed himself from the earlier penalty, which I thought wasn't a good penalty. Just kind of hit and hope, no composure. He showed composure there, as I said in the stream. So I'm actually delighted for him. Heartbreak for Mo, obviously. But do you know what? Out of it, I kind of said Mo's done really well with that team. And I know it's easy to be like, oh, it's Mo Salah's one of the best players in the world, but that's not a good team. Like, that's a team who's like play tactics well. You know, I think the former Manchester United assistants is their coach and they do well, but Senegal were the overwhelming favourites. So it's a mixed emotions, but for me, based on the events of the game, I'm actually delighted for Mane, because I feel like what happens if they don't win that, and then that's on his shoulders, similar to Didier Drogba missing the penalty against Zambia a couple of years ago in the AFCON final that they lost because of. I feel like that'll probably actually do him the best, and I felt like if he didn't score that, it could have been the worst for him. So mixed emotions, but I'm delighted for Mane.
Yeah, Mr. Sinclair tells us that Mane has actually been awarded most valuable player of the tournament, which is amazing. Evan, it's always the topic of conversation was Mane, Mo, Mane. Who do we want to win? Who deserves it more? Who needs it more mentally, emotionally, and all of that? I just think we've spoke about Mo and his greatness, and it will never, ever be tarnished, in my humble opinion. Mohamed Salah will go down as one of the greatest players of all time. Never mind for Liverpool, that the Premier League has ever seen by the time he's finished. I'm absolutely convinced of that. And so therefore, Evan, I'm okay and I'm comfortable with speaking about Sadio Mane. And I actually feel he's completed his legacy now as well. Because that's the Champions League, the Premier League, and now the AFCON for his nation for the first time. Take it away, bro.
Yeah, I mean, he's for sure solidifying himself as potentially a top 3 African player of all time, Sadio Mane. I think he's definitely for sure in that conversation now, at least, and that's some prestigious company. Absolutely. I think, Conrad nails the head on the hammer. Is that how you say it? Yeah. Conrad's spot on.
We needed an Avi.
He's in my head. He's in my head. He's
got into your head. He's not been here.
Too many WhatsApp voice memos being sent to me. He's in my head. But listen, Conroy's right though, because with Salah's sort of meteoric rise that never seems to take a different trajectory through adversity, through last season, through this season, Mane's obviously dipped down a few levels, and no shame in that because nothing lasts forever. But I would argue, he needed it more going into the match, and then especially after he misses the early penalty, the Liverpool fan part of our brain wants him to have his redemption moment. So if I could choose a way for it to play out, that was it. I found it hard from like just a footballing fan's perspective to root for Egypt because they're so anti-football in a way. It was a bit like rooting for like Simeone and like Atletico. In a sense, that's obviously an exaggeration, but that's sort of how I was feeling. I was rooting for Senegal, who seemed to want to play football. 39 fouls in the game. Pretty insane. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, says it all about how the game played out, to be honest.
Yeah, look, the fouling and then the sort of the disruption in play and the quality of the pitch, and saying all that, it became one of the most tensest finals I can remember, Keith. Maybe because we were so emotionally invested because of our two African kings. Just pretty much on the back of what Conroy and Evan have said, how is your feelings and what do you think about where we are now with the situation of the two players and how they must be feeling?
First of all props in the world to Sadio Mane, because unlike obviously Conroy and Evan, I've been on this channel many times to probably say completely the opposite. Again, what's that now? He's got 14, I think, goals and assists this season, maybe more in all competitions in 14 separate matches. The guy doesn't stat pad. He contributes in a lot of football matches and has contributed in a lot of football matches this season. And he took that form that he's had at Liverpool, regardless of what you think of his first touch, regardless of what you think that he might not do stuff that he may have done a couple of years ago with the ball at his feet. But the guy is ruthless at the end of the day. Didn't take his penalty, but then took an even bigger penalty. And it was probably one of the best penalties of the tournament to win the whole competition. And even within the tournament itself, I think I can hands down say he had a better tournament than Mohamed Salah. It's as simple as that, really. And absolutely deserved it. Senegal deserved to win that. As far as Egypt were concerned, Carlos Queiroz was tapping into his old Premier League days, being next to Sir Alex Ferguson and being pragmatic is probably the best way to describe what Egypt were throughout this entire tournament. Something that Tony Pulis or Roy Hodgson would have been proud of, realistically. It was, they got by because sometimes tournament football allows a team like Egypt to get that far, but they should never have been in the final in the first place, personally. So the right team won in the end. And it's funny, we spoke a lot about the forwards of Mane, Salah, what they're going to bring to the table. In the end, it was really decided by two goalkeepers, really. I thought Egypt's goalkeeper was outstanding throughout the whole game, kept them in the game. And it was Mendy's penalty save that ultimately teed up Mane for the final moment. So yeah, I'm part of the goalkeepers union on this one, actually. I think whenever a game finishes 0-0 and goes to penalties, you got to give it to the keepers on that one, because I thought they were absolutely brilliant. So no, Sadio Mane solidifies himself. At the end of the day, we could talk about Salah from a Premier League perspective, from a Champions League perspective, absolutely. But we're talking about the top African forward right now in today's football. It's the man who's won the African Cup of Nations for the first time for Senegal. And that alone puts him at legacy level once again. And I couldn't be prouder of him.
Just a super chat that I need to read out from Liam Kenny. Appreciate the support, bro. He says, of the two of them, Mane needed this more for his confidence. Sad for Mo, but he has a final to try and win this month to put this loss behind him. They both have a huge second half of the season to come. That's basically what you touched upon, isn't it, Conroy? You were saying throughout the stream as well, and you've been saying it, that in your opinion, Salah has that elite mentality of brushing things aside. For example, the Champions League, where he dislocated his shoulder, etc., etc. The sort of his time at Chelsea, the comeback from there, and we just think that he's such a king that he will come back from this and just continue his lordship over the Premier League. Whereas some people have said Mane needs that confidence, needs that boost in sort of just because some people may have doubted his performance levels but not his output. I think this is very much, I think it's a fair point, right?
I agree. I'd say the tournament as a whole is very good for Sadio Mane, but let's flip it. Say Egypt win tonight, playing the way they have. Mo's regarded as one of the best players in the world right now. That's not going to change. If anything, I still think getting to the final is a good achievement. Yes, the way they played, but he's had big moments like against Morocco, beating a Morocco team who are reasonably quite good. So, I think you look at that and that doesn't look like a failure, to be honest, with Egypt. Whereas Mane missing a penalty 6 minutes in, not stepping up to the plate, for me, that he just double downs and his mentality could be all over the place. So I don't want to make it about us, but if you're looking at it from Liverpool fans' point of view, that's probably worked out the best, following the game the way the game happened. Because as soon as he misses that penalty, I'm thinking, oh my, see if they don't win from here. Like, you know what he's like. He goes through spells anyway. So for me, I feel like that's a good balance. And I think, like, you've got, as that comment said, Salah's going to be desperate, to beat Chelsea now, as he would be anyway. But there's a final round the corner, which I think is a great point. And then you can maybe look at it from another point of view, that Mane, that tournament in general has gave Mane the confidence. I'm still here. I'm not done yet. And then we've got a competition with him and Diaz. I mean, it's good. If you're talking about competition and performance levels, it's great from us. Even looking at like Shimikas with Robbo is very good for this squad right now. So from a selfish point of view, I think it's brilliant, actually. Can I just add to Keith's point as well? He mentioned the keeper. Gabaski, I think his name is. He got man of the match for this final, right? Honestly, superb. But can I also ask, I do feel like, I'm going to say, I think Senegal quite lucky in that penalty shout. See the first two penalties, right? First one, terrible penalty. Got to save that by Koulibaly. People are saying it's good penalty. It's too close to the keeper. Got to save that. And then I think Diallo, fair enough. But the only penalty that he went the wrong way was Jiang's, which he hit roof of the net, which I personally think was the only one with Mane's that was a really composed penalty. So I would just say that the first penalty, they get slightly lucky. Diallo's is quite good as well, but he's not far away from that. And then Egypt, Mendy goes the wrong way or close to the wrong way every time, barring the one he saves because the person hits the post. So you need to take your chances. But I feel like it was like fate for Mane to do that. Because you know what? I actually think on the scale of it, Egypt, this is going to sound mad, but I thought they looked more composed with the penalties. Like, barring the one that Mendy saved, one hits the post, if you know what I mean. I felt like that Gabaski is very intimidating. Like, he looks like he's going to save every penalty. So I just thought I would add that he got man of the match, which is quite rare for the losing team's goalkeeper to get. So that's quite an achievement.
Guys, there's nearly 200 of you in here. Please get these likes up. You know the drill with the likes. Come on. Content's flowing. Good vibes are flowing. The likes should be flowing. It's a natural equation. Natural equation. Evan, when Mane misses that penalty in the first 5 minutes or something.
Yeah, 6 minutes, I think. Yeah.
And then it goes to a penalty shootout. And then not only does it go to a penalty shootout, Evan, it so turns out fate brings Mane back on the fifth final penalty. It takes massive kahunas to come up. It takes massive mental strength. It takes a king to step up for his country and nation, knowing that he's missed it in the first 5-6 minutes. And it's got to this stage. On top of that, all those mind games that Mo tried doing, and absolutely was in his right, and we all would have done it. Absolutely. That was some king shit from Mane right at the end there.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't even say it's mind games from Mo. He watches this dude take penalties
He's in his
training.
right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, this isn't Mo whispering in his ear as he's about to run up and take it. This just standard stuff. Yeah, it absolutely takes nerves of steel. Whatever metaphor you want to use. And I was impressed with
people in the chat. Give us some metaphors for that. Sadio Mane. You always hit us with some proper metaphors, man. Come on.
Yeah,
describe Sadio Mane.
Cojones, nerves of steel, balls of steel, whatever you want to say. It's what impressed me the most is obviously for the first penalty that he misses, he goes for power straight down the middle, so he hits it really hard. And then for his second penalty, the nervy thing to do would be to try to pass it into the net, like, I don't want to sky it. I don't want to hit it too hard like I did the first time. But no, he hits it just as hard, and he finds a corner this time. It's an incredible penalty, like Conroy said. 3 Manuel Neuers aren't saving that. Goalkeeper guesses the right way. He's a country mile from it still.
Composed, Evan, compared to the first penalty. It looked like it was just the composure. I'd said that during the stream, Chris. It is probably the biggest pressure moment of his full life. And that was the most composed strike I've ever seen by Sadio Mane. So, fair play.
Can I ask you guys? I thought football had moved on from the outdated wisdom of your best taker going fifth. I thought that was a trend that died 10, 15 years ago. Yet it came back. I noticed this AFCON when I was watching highlights. The fact that Mo Salah doesn't take a penalty is scandalous. you're in my opinion, this is like a stat-based solution that people started to come up with. You know, people realized like throughout the 2000s and the early 2010s, you know, Cristiano Ronaldo is missing out on too many shootouts. You know, he went to a couple of big shootouts and didn't take one. Your best player, I think, should always go at least fourth at the very latest, in my opinion. But yet, it's, you know, again, this is just what sort of stat people came up with from analyzing shootouts over the century. And I think it's absolutely scandalous that Mo Salah doesn't get to take one.
Keith, that has been discussed. Me and Conroy and Avi were discussing it on the stream, and we were wondering how it's going to pan out. And it does pan out that way. Avi said that once Egypt missed a penalty, he should have taken the next one. Or was it?
I don't know if you're allowed to do that, Grizz. Do you not have to give the referee the order? I don't know. It might be different. It might be different. I thought that used to be the way.
I mean, I don't know. It's a difficult one. If Evan says the stats people have looked into this, then yeah, fair enough. They must have looked into this. I don't know if there's a correct way of setting out who takes which penalty. Maybe there is. I'm sure there is. I don't know. What do you think?
My opinion on penalties is always the fact that it's a 50-50 lottery, and 1 minute you'll get your centre-back blasting it in top bins like as if he was a forward. And
Maguire.
Another guy, like Harry Maguire, right? And there's probably more players who probably are not goal scorers who are probably better penalty takers than forwards. Now, obviously, again, if there's data to suggest otherwise, then I can understand. Then I can understand the data to some extent. But I just think that penalties, I don't think it's necessary. I think we believe that your best players or your best forwards should be the one taking penalties. But actually, over the years, I've always felt that some of the best penalty takers are nowhere near the goal in 90 minutes. You know, it's an interesting debate to suggest that, okay, who would be the best penalty taker out of Fabinho, Mane, and Salah, for example? You know, who out of them three should take the next penalty? Sam Maguire, who you know, been following for years and writes a lot of good content. He did an analyst and actually said that Fabinho, the way Fabinho takes his penalties, in terms of low, hard into the corner, he does that much more often than Mo Salah, who seems to just hit it. It is almost Salah's a bit more hit and hope compared to Fabinho, who's very much like how penalties should be taken, which is hard, low, and into the corners. So I think there's always I think there's maybe a bit too much emphasis on forwards and the big names doing at the big moments. But then you got to flip it on its head as well. You know, football is all about, you know, life. Sometimes it's all about egos, right? It's all about having your ego moment. You know, Mo Salah had his ego moment. Arguably, you would have said when they were taking the penalty shootouts before Egypt qualified for the World Cup that he should have been the first one to take it or the second one to take it. But he got to be the last one to take it. It was the winning penalty. He got to run around with his top off, show the abs, have that moment, you know. So, and tonight is exactly the same thing. Arguably, you would have said that who would have put Koulibaly and Diallo as your first two penalty takers?
Yeah, that was a risk, though. That paid off, though, didn't it? It paid off.
But it was a big risk. You would have thought Mane and Kone would have stepped up.
Yeah. Or that Jiang, because that was the best penalty of the night. That was unbelievable.
It was beautiful.
This is exactly that. Guys, did you see this, Mr. Sinclair, who always makes brilliant observations? Did you guys see the instructions on the bottle for the keeper?
For the Egypt keeper.
Players have got to do more there, though. You've got to study Gabaski. Look what he's been doing for the past shootout as well. Like, I sometimes think it's a lottery to a certain extent.
Oh, you mean the other way around? You mean players? The
players should do more, definitely. Like, he's a Mane, as soon as he gets that, should think that guy's went that side 3 times in a row, and he usually thinks players are going to hit it that way or cover that ground. It's easy for me to say he hits another corner, but like Mane just kind of hits and hope. It's a hard one because he's obviously very good at saving penalties because he's absolutely huge. You know, the best penalty against someone like that is, and I actually think it's not the best technique, but if you talk about statistics, see like a Bruno Fernandes or Jorginho, they probably have the best technique. I'd probably say Fernandes is the best because Fernandes mixes his up. But see, like his penalty against Middlesbrough, he just watches the keeper and does the hop. And if he goes the other way, he just passes it. But then sometimes he'll just hit it straight away. So if a keeper's studying Fernandes and not sure what he's going to do, technically they're probably the best technique. However, look what happened to Jorginho in the Euros final. I mean, penalty shouts and finals are different. I'm saying if you're like every week you're taking a penalty, I think when it comes to shootouts, the pressure can be a bit hard. But yeah,
Well, the biggest irony of all of that is there's a video that resurfaced on Premier League Retro when Gini Wijnaldum, when they asked him, like, what advice would you give to Sadio Mane in the African Cup of Nations for 2019 before COVID kicked off? And he said, don't take penalties.
Yeah, do you know what? Do you know what though? That makes that penalty so impressive, guys. Like genuinely, see watching that like with the eagle eye camera. What a
absolutely. Even Mustafa says it. He says the fact that Mane also went full power for both of his penalties shows his bravery. You know, I thought massive bravery from guys. I just can't give enough. We're trying to give him enough credit, but I think you know, Evan, he's been on the receiving end of slight criticism from certain quarters, and I'm totally with where Conroy is coming from now in terms of he needed that, and it's an absolute boost for Liverpool going into the season.
Absolutely, for
the rest of the remainder of the season. You know, and just generally, you know, I'm chuffed to bits for him. Yes, there is the slight sadness for King, for Mo. But as we said, he's got the mentality of an absolute lion. But Mane needed this, and it's a good situation for us, right?
Absolutely. You know, I think if we had chosen a way for it to play out, I think most people would have chosen Sadio before the game, and then obviously within the first 10 minutes, we all want Sadio to have his redemption moment. And like you said, it was sort of fate, destiny written in the stars, whatever you want to call it. And one last thing, just sort of on the analytics of penalties, I will never get mad at a player for missing down the middle, because if there's one thing that definitely is not up for debate, the best place to put a penalty is down the middle. The stats show that overwhelmingly, but obviously people are scared to do it because if you're caught out, you end up looking like an idiot, a la Harry Kane to Anfield, 4 years ago.
Lloris with the save.
Yeah,
Lloris was brave staying in the middle. Fair play.
Yeah, is there a worse feeling than going for the Panenka and the keeper doesn't move? You know what I mean? Like, but statistically speaking, economists have like done like studies on like the likelihood of penalties, and there was one that came out in a econ podcast a couple years ago, and they found that through the middle was the best way to go. So it's a fantastic save by the Egyptian keeper for the penalty in the 8th minute, where it was he just sort of like Dudek, he chooses a side, but you guys are right. He's as big as Donnarumma, so he can just sort of keep parts of his body in the middle of the goal. It's a really impressive save.
And Conor is right. He's actually an imposing goalkeeper.
He's huge.
Yeah. And you can see he's got such a deep voice, and when he bellows out, he's got a lot of elements of Keith about him, actually.
I think if you get it low in the corner, you score against him, but it's easier said than done. I think if you're a very good technical player, you probably score against him, but it's a final. But just to add to that, Evan, I might have told you this before, so I'll make it quick, guys. But Graham Alexander, that used to play for Burnley and Preston, and he was a centre back, right back and centre back. He was actually Salford's manager for a bit there. Mm-hmm. He used to take penalties, and I found this fascinating. You talk about psychology. So when he used to take penalties, he used to say, if it's before the 60th minute, or say 70th, 60th minute, right, and he got a penalty, he'd put it in a corner. Says after the 70th minute, every time he'd put it down the middle, because you've got to look at it from the keeper's point of view. It takes a very brave goalkeeper not to guess a side in the last 20 minutes of the game. And I found that fascinating.
You know what, Evan, all these reports that you speak of, I am pretty certain our James Milner has read every single one and studied every single one. Mm-hmm. Because that guy, that's what he does, right? He's a football man through and through. He would have read every single one of those reports. And I still say, if we get a penalty in the Champions League final,
James Milner, 100%.
There's only one man for it, guys.
100%.
I couldn't agree more, Grizz. I was on my way upstairs to set up for this show. I was thinking, if we're in the Champions League final and it's extra time and it's the 118th minute, I sure as hope we have a sub left, because I want James Milner being subbed on for Sadio Mane. I want him taking a penalty. You know what I mean? Because statistically, he's one of the best takers in the world. And you're right, he probably has read all these reports going down. He knows this. He's a professional through and through. But those guys that are so good, they're like, well, I can put it in the corner regardless. It
I
doesn't
think
matter.
he studies the keepers as well. Do you remember
Yeah.
when we beat Leicester 4-0 and Trent scored that goal in that game? Trent was unbelievable. He done the Mbappe celebration. If you watch Milner's penalty, he literally just lifts it with the inside his foot, no pace down the middle, because I think he knows Schmeichel always dives to the side, and he never taken a penalty like that. Literally, no pace on the ball, just lofted it in the middle. So I think Milner's a bit like that as well, Evan. He'll study the keepers he's playing every week.
I think the only type of Milner pen we haven't seen is him putting one in the top corner. Can you guys? I can't think of a top corner pen from.
No,
I've seen the Panenka. I've seen the hard down the middle. I've seen the hard into the sides. I can't think of a top corner one though. Not his style.
40-year-old Virgil reminds us Fabinho is a brilliant penalty taker, and he's only missed one for us, and that was in a friendly preseason friendly.
Yeah.
In fact, it was his debut at Anfield.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. I was there, so that's why I remember it. He came with this amazing record of not missing for Monaco when he misses in his
Ricky Lambert as well, didn't he? First for us, didn't miss a penalty, missed for us.
Absolutely. Keith, AFCON's over and done with. Our Kings get a week's rest. No, not even a week's rest. Just very quickly, what do you do? What do you do with if you're Klopp and Co. and you pick up the phone tomorrow and obviously you congratulate, or obviously already messages and whatever have probably been exchanged. In terms of focusing in on Liverpool now, what are you doing? Are you giving Mane Leicester City off and telling Salah to drag his ass back into training and the story must continue? Where are we at, guys? Just very briefly, quickly, I want all of your opinions on this. Go with Keith first. What are you doing with both players? Are you telling them to come back? Are you giving them extra days off? What are you doing?
I don't think there's a rush at the moment. Tell the lads to go to Dubai like everybody else did. Get a little bit of extra sun, and then come back after the Leicester game. Liverpool scored 15 goals since they've been gone in 4 games. I mean, at the end of the day,
brave.
It's a brave move, but they need it. Mo Salah's played 120 minutes, 3 times in less than a week. Yeah. Sadio Mane has obviously just won a trophy for the first time, but I think it's going to be harder for Jurgen Klopp to keep them out because they're going to be hungry for the same reasons. Sadio's now, like everyone, and I agree with, has now taken, let's, even for me, even like Sadio Mane's biggest, cheerleader, before the Chelsea game, he hadn't scored or assisted in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games. So he's now, since that Chelsea game, he's gone out with Senegal, and all of a sudden he scored 3 goals, has got 2 assists. So he's had 5 contributions. So when we're talking about that confidence boost, I want him to take his ass as quickly as possible to bring that back. But at the same time, don't let them enjoy it a little bit? This is the first time Senegal have ever won an AFCON. how do I describe it? Like Leicester, this team that we had that we put out against Cardiff should be more than enough to win a football match against the Leicester team, in my opinion, that are just not at that level to be winning football matches against Liverpool at the moment. So I think they need a rest. I think it's going to be such a... Remember, this year, aside from the summer break where they get a couple of weeks off, they go into the Premier League season, then they go into a World Cup. And if I'm not mistaken, there is another AFCON next year. The chat, no. That's what I heard. Someone said. Maybe I'm wrong.
There's another AFCON?
That's what I had heard after the World Cup.
Yes, I think Keith is right. So there will be a AFCON in 2023. This is also sort of, sorry to take this in a different direction, but this is why I would consider potentially moving Mane on in the summer, because this guy has an insane amount of football to be played.
I'm not doing this tonight.
Sorry.
Nice, go. It's cool.
No, I apologize. I wasn't trying to take it there. I'm just sorry. It's just I'm not saying I would. I'm saying it's something to think about because we've seen what international burnout can do to the likes of Alexis Sanchez. That dude played 3 Copa Americas back to back. Somehow there was 3 Copa Americas in 4 years, and he played every minute of every single one. So yeah, it's a lot of football.
Keith and Evan are spot on. The chat have confirmed that there is a 2023 AFCON. Absolute madness. The shout out to Fahim Shah, Luton Reds. Big up yourself, my brother. Yeah, me and him have loads of conversations in private, and he's of the same opinion as you. He thinks we got to put the sentiment to the side and have the long-term thought and process. But we won't go there today. Today's not the fucking night. Both of you shut up about this one tonight. Both of you. My best friend in real life and my best friend virtual life. Shut up, both of you. All right. Conrad.
Sorry.
I would add to that, Grizz, as well.
No,
It's going to be interesting to see what money we get back following this tournament as well. I think that's going to be interesting to see.
But what are you doing with the two kings this week?
Do you know what? I think I said earlier, but I've had a rethink because I think we need to take it from the perspective of not being like, especially living in Europe and stuff. Like, this is a massive tournament. This is like an unbelievable tournament for Mane to win. So I feel like we need to look at that in the same way through his perspective. And I feel like Klopp, I imagine, will probably just say to the both of them, like, what do you want to do? You can have it off. And I personally, having thought about it, I think you give Mane off because, like, Mane probably just wants to bask in this glory with his teammates for a couple of days, and I think he gives that offer out to both of them, and I think Mane probably takes it because he might never win a tournament again. This is iconic for him. This is his moment.
Legacy shit, man.
He said numerous times as well, like all the club accolades are amazing, but for him to win this, I think is I can't see Mane playing, and I've thought about it earlier. I said the opposite, but I've changed my mind. I can't see him playing. Mo, I think he maybe just puts it out to Mo. Do you want to come back? Do you want to just get back in the frame of mind instead of having a break? Not necessarily starting, just being back at the training ground in the squad. We'll see. Keith, I think you need to remember though, Leicester are a weird team. Leicester turned up. We couldn't finish against them, and then they caught us on the break with Lookman and scored. Like, they've still got players who can hurt us. And yes, I agree, it's a good team today, but it is Cardiff. We have to remember it is Cardiff, and we have got to, sometimes we do this, like we big something up so much that we forget about the other sides of the game. And I feel like either way, though, I think maybe having Salah back in the squad could be the difference if we're struggling in that game. Just to have him on the bench if he's up for it.
So personally, for me, I'm not so much basing it on the Cardiff game. I'm just basing it on the general direction of travel.
I meant the last couple of games. Apologies, let me say it like that.
Defensively, and the structure that we have going into the Leicester game, in my opinion, is yes, you're right. We could get caught on the break against Leicester. Things could happen. But for me, we've been so solid in this new way, in this new football solution that Klopp has found. We've just got Harvey Elliott back now. We've got Thiago back now. Fabinho will be playing against Leicester as well. I think the forwards, there's enough of what we have to go forward that we don't need to just rush Salah and Mane back just for having them as forwards when Diogo Jota arguably, could and will probably be one of the biggest difference makers of that game. It's just a worry for me to have them rush back for the sake of rushing them back. And obviously it's not going to be like the Cardiff game, but irrespective, I think the way that we've built ourselves without Salah has been that we're a much harder team to score goals against.
That's fair enough, Keith. That's fair enough, mate. That's a fair enough point.
I personally don't want to see either of them in the squad on Thursday. All due respect to Leicester, I think we can handle Leicester without them. Obviously, Leicester have the individuals that can hurt you, but obviously in this time, 6 months ago,
call, though, guys, it's a fucking huge call.
It is a huge call.
It's a huge game. It's a huge game. One more loss, and I think that's the coffin. That we're not a title race.
100%. They will be back in the country by Thursday. Neither of them are going on vacation. That's not their personality, I don't think. But in terms of substantial game time against Leicester, I would urge restraint because just 3 days after that, we go to Turf Moor, and then 3 days after that, we go to Italy for the first round, the round of 16. I'm just trying to think bigger picture. February, we have 6 matches left in February, and one of them is like I said, the first leg of the round of 16, and another one is the EFL Cup. So there is absolutely no rush. We have to play this smartly. The sports scientists are not going to be happy when they hear that both players have played a combined 800 minutes this month. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like that. I just don't think that's realistic to expect them to play at all. I do think we would see them against Burnley, though, sort of getting back into the rhythm of the way Liverpool play, maybe a 45 there or something like that. And they definitely will start against Inter. But yeah, we got to think bigger picture this month because it's going to be a long month. We're going to find out quite a bit about what our trophy aspirations are going to look like in a month's time.
Dinesh with a super chat. Appreciate the support, my brother. He says, evening, I think both should be rested and brought back for the Champions League next week. We have enough to win the next 2 games. It's a huge call, man. It's a huge goal. I think the jury or sort of the consensus of opinion. I don't think there is a consensus. I think it's very, very. It's a good debate. It's a good chat. It'd be interesting. I think I'm with the idea that Klopp's going to leave it to them. He's that kind of guy. But then again, our sports science people are so big, are so good at their job. I think it's going to be a combination of Klopp speaking to the people behind the scenes, the sports science people, and saying, what are we saying? Because we know, and Evans just reminded us, and I think we knew anyway, like the amount of minutes Mohamed Salah's played in the last 3 fucking games.
Obscene.
And not only the physical draining, the mental draining at the end of it, not to get the trophy at the end of it. Come on, we know he's Superman, but Superman, remember, he used to have periods of rest. Do you remember? Everyone watched Superman, right?
Yeah. I also don't imagine a world where Klopp can overrule the sports scientists. I think
he doesn't do that.
I think if the people with PhDs in sports science say one thing, he's not going to tell them that they're wrong, and Salah can play because he says he's fine. Every single player is going to say they can play. Who's going to say they can't play? That's the hunger that's in this team.
No, Mo 100% will want to be back.
Yeah.
Put his boots on. But then again, the sports science people will say Mo is a freak and he can go again. That's what fear. Because I'm with Keith that we should have enough to beat Leicester, but I think the margin of error is too tight, Keith. Like Conroy saying a loss, I think a draw and forget about the league. That's the margin of error with fucking with.
I'd agree with that as well.
Do you know what I mean? So I think Mane for sure, maybe a couple of days extra off. Mo, I think Mo on the subs bench is quite scary for everyone involved, like opposition-wise as well.
And then obviously Luis Diaz as well. You've got to add that factor in as well to our team, which is great as well. So yeah, we'll see. It's going to be interesting. By the way, the rumours the day before, it's going to be interesting to see where if Salah will actually be up for contention.
Guys, was I referring to Super Ted?
I don't know if you were, but Super Ted was my childhood hero, man.
He was my Super Ted.
Who is Super Ted?
Yeah, I don't know Super Ted.
Oh man,
Super Ted.
Oof. He was a he was a bear that would just come to life.
Oh, that's hard. So like Winnie the Pooh, but kind of gangster,
Yeah, gangster.
Okay. All right, cool. Shout out to my assistant, Blue Chip at TV, for reaffirming what I just said a second ago.
He says, Blue Chip says, Andres Cornmeyer will get final say. Klopp trusts him a lot.
The corn man.
We used to trust you a lot, Avi, but you've dunked on us.
You've led us astray.
You've led us astray, man. It is what it is. So look, guys, Cardiff City today came to town, brought 9,000 fans with them, Conroy. Fucking hell. By all accounts, brilliant effort from them. Klopp picked a very good team, strong team. We knew he was going to be strong. Was you any surprises for you in that lineup, or did you expect it to be as strong as it was? So let's remind people that no Matip, no Fabinho, no Alisson, no Mane, no Salah, and then on top of that, Gomez and Oxlade had COVID. That's 7.
Divock had COVID as well. I think Origi.
Yeah.
Just for information, just an FYI.
No, absolutely. You're spot on with that, but just Origi.
Yeah, I forgot you're done. I forget you're done.
Yeah, he's done. No, I genuinely don't think he plays. I genuinely don't think he starts another game for us. Yeah. I genuinely think he doesn't start another game. I'd be surprised. I'd be amazed. It may mean that we've had a lot of injuries, which I pray that it's not the case. But yeah, considering we were out with 7 to 8 first team players, we still put out a very strong team. Conroy, was you happy and glad to see that team and the sub. Especially, we're going to come onto the subs bench as well.
No, absolutely. I thought it was a strong team. It's always good to see Van Dijk and Konate. If it's Konate or Matip, you're obviously a bit of he's happy as well, because you're like, you know what, Klopp really he's trying to go out on all fronts the best he can for the domestic competitions, and we're not going to get into that conversation tonight. But I'm delighted when I see that. And yeah, I was kind of the way I thought the team would work out. I thought Shimikas would come in anyway. Obviously, Nico Williams is at Fulham now, so he's always going to play Trent. So I was kind of expected that. Kelleher obviously getting another appearance, which is great to see. We spoke about that in the past. And yeah, Jones in the midfield was Jones, Hendo, and Keita. Pretty strong, very, very strong team. And we'll talk about the depth we've got because of recent things and additions and signings later on in the show. But I felt that was great. And then you look at Minamino, Jota, and Bobby, and it's like we're going to get into what happened. But it's like, even if you don't necessarily love like Ataki, for example, I know some fans don't, but there's definitely effectiveness there. And we've had this discussion before. You can be effective or you can be amazing, but see if you actually can have an impact on a game. I still think that's a trait in itself. So, you know, I was quite happy. I thought we'd have enough to beat Cardiff anyway. But you never know. Like, we've had weird games in the past. I always remember it's a different team, obviously, but Wolverhampton Wanderers, I think Keith, you mentioned a couple of weeks ago with Paul Lambert. We lost 2-1. Andy Vyman, like, we had a different team back then. But what I mean is, it's not always an FA Cup. It's not always, you know, smooth sailing. And we'll talk about the incidents in the match, but I was quite happy with the team.
Connery, Evan, was you okay with the team? Did you want anything else? Anything different? Anything changed?
Obviously, the selfish part of me wanted both Diaz and Elliott to start, maybe even Thiago to start, but, you know, having them on the bench was enough to get me out of bed at 4 a.m. The team makes sense, you know, absolutely. I'm officially voting against Ibu's shaved head. Bring back the hair, Ibu. It's a bit too Mamadou Sakho-ish for me.
Just a very quick insert into that. It wasn't out of choice or fashion. Ibu, that's actually he performed a religious pilgrimage in his time away. So that's for that. So just want to throw you in with that. Yeah. So it wasn't out of fashion or that's his go-to hairstyle. So yeah, in his time off, big up, you know, people spend their time off however they want. This fella went on a religious pilgrimage, so big himself up. But yeah, it didn't help his performance.
Yeah, I was cool with the lineup. It's definitely enough to get us through that fourth. Was that the fourth round of the FA Cup? Yeah, I think it was enough to get us through the fourth round. I was more than happy with that. I was more than happy with the subs. It was a perfect day, but we'll get to that.
Exactly. We'll get to that, but we must address the start, Keith. I was excited. I mean, not as excited, but sort of I didn't show the commitment Evan showed of getting up that morning to watch a fourth round FA Cup tie. Big up Evan and Avi who done that shit, and everyone around the world that does that kind of stuff. That's amazing. I would as well. I'm joking. But what I mean by that is that first half, 12 o'clock kickoff, first of all, is a nasty time to kick off on a Sunday morning on top of 2 weeks off, basically 2 weeks off, I think. And then we come up against a Cardiff team who just wanted to enjoy their day. You could see from the fans, the noise, the chants. We picked a strong lineup, but again, another lineup that hasn't played together much. I'm assuming I don't think they played together that exact lineup. We were rusty, we were poor. Some would say we were lucky not to get away with a few incidents. Just want to run you back. So there's not much to talk about in terms of any incidents from our point of view. There's a couple of chances, loads of possession, loads of sideways passing. Then they have a shout for the penalty, the first incident of the game. Is that a penalty, Keith?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I think it's one of
those.
You'd
be screaming, you'd be raging for a penalty there, brother. If that was Jota.
I think the referee, I don't know. I just felt like it was one of those situations where the referee probably takes the conditions of the game into account. It was just one of those games where it just was a football match that didn't really feel like a football match. It just felt like 22 men just trying to survive a storm. You know what I mean? Like, and so, you know, when incidents like that happen, sometimes I wonder if the referee gives the benefit of the doubt for the team, just for the situation. Yeah, it could have been given. It could have not been given, to be honest. But I'm not having that as a penalty. But you know, if I'm a Cardiff fan, yeah, like you said before, I'd be screaming Liverpool all day long. Do you know what I mean? I'll be pushing that trope. I just think, yeah. Other than that incident, it was, you know. One thing I'm interested to know, has it always been the case where FA Cup has such a high allocation of away fans, or is this a recent phenomenon? Because I almost feel like the magic of the cup is probably wrapped in the fact that there's so many away fans compared to your normal Premier League games. Just watching it on TV makes it feel like a proper humdinger. Like Cardiff weren't really doing much at all, but it felt like something could happen because their away fans are so loud. And they drown out the home fans because, I mean, let's be honest. Again, shout out to anybody who went to the game today and was standing in the stands through that, because that would have been horrible to go to sit through. So, yeah, the atmosphere, I feel like the conditions, I think it all edged towards that incident probably being made something more than it actually was, but no penalty for me. And that's probably the only thing that woke me up, and it was 12 o'clock over here, so I was even falling asleep after that first half. So
can someone remind me what the pen call or the lack of pen call was?
So I'm gonna come to that. Rodney says Jota didn't get a penalty for a proper barge in the back a few weeks ago. How can that one be a penalty? See, I disagree with these kind of thoughts. Just because that wasn't a penalty doesn't mean that, because that was
that was incorrect though. That was incorrect though.
Exactly. So two incorrects doesn't make a correct. Basically, Conroy, the similar situation, similar area of the pitch, and the forward or whoever he was comes inside, and in my opinion, Keith disagrees. You don't remember the opinion. You don't remember the incident, so there's no point asking you. But in my opinion, some people were saying that he goes down before the challenge. I don't believe he does. I think there is enough contact, physical contact, that would be given a foul anywhere on the pitch. I think it should be given a penalty.
Yeah, for me, obstructs him.
But it's a 50-50. It can be debated. Which we're
as soon as I saw it,
I
went, that's a penalty straight away. I agree with you. Yeah, like I sometimes think we need to stop like this. Like it doesn't have to, you don't have to cut him in half to be a penalty, but he obstructs him and he's going to get a shot away. For me, listen, I've only looked at it 3 times, but as soon as I saw your tweet as well. I was like, that's absolutely a penalty. For me, and I've got no time as well for like big teams getting decisions over it. It pisses me off all the time. VR's meant to eradicate that, and I know you can't do every single little decision. I get that. Now, maybe I'll look at it tomorrow, and maybe when the refs watch, they'll explain it. But for me, that's a pen. Like, if you look at, is it Ryan Hardy yesterday for Plymouth? Malin Sarr, I'm sure he does a similar sort of thing, runs into his foot, and he shields the ball away. I think that's the reason for me. He obstructs someone, it's a pen. Did you think, Grizz, as soon as you saw it, did you think that's a penalty? That's what I thought.
I thought it was a penalty, guys. I genuinely thought. And then when I saw the replay, I understood why it wasn't given. So it left me undecided. Who wants to be a fucking ref, right?
I just went on Twitter.
Well, that's the subjective thing, isn't it? Because like you're not going to review that, so therefore that just reminds me of like United at home when teams should have had penalties, and that's why it annoys me, because I feel like you're still you're maybe not going to get that at Anfield or a big ground if you're a smaller team, but that's a problem in itself. Like there should be you shouldn't have to think where you are. You could be in a Sunday league pitch or the Bernabeu. It shouldn't make a difference. But as I say, that's not how it works, unfortunately.
Go on, Evan, you was going to say?
I just went and watched it again on Twitter to remind myself. Now I remember it now. Listen, it's soft. You've seen them given, but it's one of those things where I think the referee has to remember context. Obviously we want referees to judge each call impartially, regardless of the time of the game or location on the pitch and things like that. But context is important because obviously Cardiff aren't going to get much in that game for most of it. And you have to think that on the rare occasions they do get into the box, they're going to make the most of anything. I think anyone could tell you that. And it reminded me, if it was given, it would have reminded me a lot of the penalty that was awarded to Everton at Anfield in 17-18, where Dejan Lovren like breathed on Calvert-Lewin's back. And that was their first foray into our half all
it's
game.
Not like that though, Evan. It's not like that.
No. It's not a similar. The fouls are different. Lovren got called for what they thought was a push. This was more of a like the feet
I agree. That was a horrendous decision. Yeah,
I'm saying it's similar in the sense of that is one of their only 2 moments of the game, and I think referees need to keep that in mind. And I think they do keep that in mind. You know what I mean? Context is kind of important, but obviously we shouldn't ask for refs to have context all the time, and then also ask them to be as impartial and as neutral and robotic as well. So gray area, I guess.
So this is interesting. The roulette wheel brings me back to Keith for the second incident. It wasn't meant to be like this, but Conray and Evan have said they're saying it brings me back to the second incident, which Evan refers to. The major talking point of that first half. Kelleher rushes out, very similar to how Alisson rushes out against Spurs.
His face.
Well, no, I want to hear top red. Get out of this one. I want to hear, we talk about Super Ted. We want to talk about Super Red. We're going to call him Super Red from now on, not Top Red. Super Red, explain to me, A, what made Kelleher rush out like that? B, does that bode well for League Cup final? Because he's going to be our keeper. Because I thought he had a bit of an iffy game in terms of decision making. But just that particular incident, Ibu's in control, seemingly. He's miles out. He's not going to outpace Ibu Konate, the attacker. Kelleher rushes out. Again, in my humble opinion, that's a red card. If it's not for the denying of a goal-scoring opportunity, which people can debate, it's for being reckless and out of control and a dangerous tackle. That's my opinion. Over to you, Super Red.
When I first saw it, I thought, okay, it's a foul, booking, yellow card, take your L and move on. But that slow-mo, when his studs rakes the back of the Cardiff's attacker's Achilles, that doesn't look good. That really, really, really doesn't look good. Those studs they scrape him down the side. He looks reckless because he's trying to like literally kind of go for it. He's made his mind he's making that slide tackle even before Ibu's been turned, right? So that's what he's going for. And it's just a really, really, really just terrible challenge. And
it's very unlike him as well.
Yeah.
He's so calm normally. He doesn't make rash decisions.
But maybe he's just getting a bit, what the London street kids say, he's getting a bit gassed these days. You know what I'm saying? He's gassing himself. All of a sudden, he thinks he's a sweeper centre back now these days after he's had a few decent games, and now he thinks he can take man out. Look, it was just one of those afternoons. It's one of those afternoons where I just feel like Liverpool got away with one big time with that situation. The penalty situation, it could have been it's funny if that penalty was given. Yeah, and Cardiff were 1-0 up. Kelleher's
red card, you mean? It wasn't a penalty?
No. I mean the first one. So the first one. Oh. Yeah, the first one. If that's a penalty, Cardiff score. They go into the break 1-0 up. Kelleher does that. He's off. 100%. Momentum in football. I'm a believer of that. I know refs are supposed to be impartial. They're supposed to be cool-headed. They're supposed to be calm. I believe refs get hooked up and swept up in a momentum shift. And the momentum shift would have been Cardiff are 1-0 up. Cardiff are breaking on us in these situations. And Kelleher looks desperate because Liverpool are losing. So it comes across as more desperate. He's off.
Okay.
That's why I think he would have been off had the situation been different. But because it was
That's
still
some deep theory, bro.
Yeah, I've got a different theory.
No, honestly, he looks more desperate because Liverpool are chasing a football match that they're losing, and he makes a tackle like that. It's looked at differently if Cardiff are 1-0 up rather than 0-0.
I see the angle.
Momentum is huge in football. I do get that, Keith. Absolutely.
And I think refs that people they can get swept up in that, and things can look different depending on
Yeah,
the.
but do you not think it's less with VAR though? For me, you look at it, and because it's not, I think the commentator, as I criticise them all the time, summed it up. They said, "See if it's any higher, it's a red." But I think because it's kind of at the ankle, kind of that kind of grey area, you could say it's not necessarily full reckless. I think that's why.
I disagree with that.
No, I'm not
I think the
necessarily saying I don't think it's reckless. I
ankle is
think
very
that's
sensitive
helped
part
him.
of the. Yeah, but I think ankle is fucking very sensitive part of the
But
body.
sometimes they'll say it's hard to control,
Achilles.
Grizz. Sometimes it's hard to control. Like, so say if you go for a challenge, your foot can sometimes. Like, I'm not saying this one specifically. I'm just saying, you know, some challenges, the ankle can, the foot can bounce up and hit the ankle, and they kind of give a bit of leniency there, right? I'm not saying it's not reckless, because I'm kind of siding with you, Grizz. I just think that's what's went in his favour when they've reviewed it. That's all.
Maybe.
Lucky though, very lucky. Got away with one.
Olivier. Sorry. We're coming, baby. We're coming. We need to get the likes up before we get on to the best
Smash
part
the
of the
likes,
show.
folks. Smash the likes.
Smash the like before we get there. There's a super chat that segues into what I want to speak about. Finishing off the first half. Neil with the super chat. So, do you guys think Curtis Jones has more to offer attacking? Conroy, one of my biggest gripes was with the midfield in that first half. I thought we were so passive with the tempo and the incisiveness of our passing. Naby was okay in terms of passing incisively and forward, and the tempo and the pace that we set. I thought Curtis Jones, Hendo were not good. I thought Trent would have had a horrendous first half. And the front three didn't flattered to deceive, I think. Curtis Jones gets the nod. We spoke about the competition with Mane, Salah, Diaz, etc. with the forwards. There's a hella competition in midfield. Every opportunity must be grabbed by these players. Yes, it's a very difficult game to judge a young player on. Did Naby, Hendo, Curtis impress you? Anything in that first half? What did they do wrong?
Can I just add to the Jones thing, just first on the comment? I do think he's got more to offer in a sense. Sometimes I do think he plays within himself to carry out I don't know if it's confidence, or maybe it's just to not take as much risk, if you know what I mean. But I'll be honest, right? One of my biggest criticisms with Jones is I don't think he played very well today. Probably just an average performance, played within himself. But the one thing I would say to him, and you might think, Conroy, this is, he did have a shot. He had a few shots today. And listen, they were not good shots. But what I'm saying is, the biggest problem he had, Grizz, is he used to have shots all the time for the academy. And when he plays for Liverpool, he never really shoots. Now, it was not a good connection today. I'm not saying that. But at least he's doing that. And sometimes our midfielders are scared to have a shot. So I don't mind seeing that. He misses a great chance. In the first half, I think he has the best chance for us. I think is it Trent plays the ball across, it goes through Jota's legs, I think. It's Taki plays it across, goes through Jota's leg. It's inside the box, got to hit the target there. I think that's a big chance. But at least he's pulling the trigger more often. However, I do think, I agree with the comment, I think he can do more attacking-wise. He's shown it in the past. I just think sometimes I think we all agree, all Liverpool fans, he holds on to the ball too long sometimes when he should get it going. And at times where he can have more time, he ends up making the wrong decision. So I think that's an area he can work on.
Absolutely, and he's still young.
Yeah.
Before people say Grizz
that's
and
the
the
thing,
REDFELLAS, Grizz and the REDFELLAS on February the 6th wrote off Curtis Jones's career. Before people say that, we haven't. We're just commenting on the game. And I thought Hendo was equally as passive and way too conservative, like Neil says, another super chat with regards to Curtis. Very quickly, I know you love Jota, so very quickly I'm going to give you the chance he creates for himself. That reminded me of Fowler-esque. And if you want to go back, that reminded me of something Romario used to do with that turn. Just lacked that composure right at the end. Otherwise, that would have been a magnificent goal from Jota.
No, it would, Grizz, but as you say with Jota, he's always, I think I was going to messages in the chat, he's always, at times he can be frustrating because he's always looking for the effective one-touch pass inside, like to get what's the word? Get a counter-attack or offensive attack going to break their lines. And at times he can be annoying because he looks like he's maybe having poor on the ball or maybe not having the greatest game. But the way he plays, I think he's always looking for that. His movement's so clever. And yes, the composure, of course, Grizz, but we'll speak about his goal later. he's not. I don't think he's an absolute killer in front of goal, but I do think he's been so impressive in his ability to score a variety of goals and just. I mean, I know I'm fed up with saying this, and the chat will be fed up. I say this every week, but I think his signing looks better and more impressive every week. It's getting to the point now where see these comparisons with Fowler and Owen. It's like he's like a hybrid of them at the moment, and I know we're going to let the other guys talk about his goal. I just find him so impressive. And do you guys feel like he's getting better? Like his link up with the team's getting better. Like it seems to be. He's sometimes hot and cold, but I've noticed that his link up and his movement, they seem to be gelling a lot more than in the past, or maybe that's just me being reactionary.
I think it is, just very quickly, but I want in depth from Evan, because we go into the second half and I said they deserve to get a rocket up the arse. I'm not doing one of this, oh, it's been 2 weeks, oh, it's cold and blustery. Oh, no, mate. The situation where I want this Liverpool squad and each player now is fighting for their place in this team, busting a fucking gut, because now we've got a squad that can challenge on all four fronts. And that first half was embarrassing for me.
Yeah.
Cardiff had 5-6 players out from their normal team, couple cup tied. We should have blitzed them and then made life easier for our returning young players and glamorous signing to make their entrance and bow. But it didn't turn out quite like that. So what happened was we came out second half and started with a different intensity, Evan. And I thought Trent was one of the bad ones in the first half. But when you got the ability of Trent, you stay in the game because he can put in a ball like he did. And I thought it was a magnificent header.
Yeah.
That was a magnificent header, Evan.
Every week I find it harder and harder to believe that Diogo Jota never scored a header for Wolves. Like he must have.
Fact?
Yeah. He must have been going out.
I've got that written down, Evan. I can't believe you've done that to me.
Hey, Gray, yo, Grizz gave me a tap in at the back post, man. I kind of, you know what I mean. You know, I knew someone was gonna have it, but yeah, that's just an insane stat. Like they must have been going out of their way to like put it on the ground for him. Yeah, and listen. My only critique, and it would be nitpicking, but my only critique of Jota's incredible first season for us last year was I didn't think he was capable of doing a passable Firmino impression. Now, his link up at times this season has been frustrating and inconsistent, but he's added it to the game. We've seen there's been at least a half a dozen games where the link up has been on par with what Firmino can offer you. So that's going to get more and more consistent. I remember after his first flurry of goals last season, Klopp's like, he only has 20% of the information he needs in terms of how we play. And I think we're starting to see what an added 50 to 60% of that looks like. And I do think there is even a higher gear for him to shift into. Gris said it reminded him of Fowler. I'm thinking a bit of Bergkamp at St. James's Park, you know, that goal where he sort of flicked it around. You know which one I'm talking about. Yeah. I can't even describe what Bergkamp did because it was such magic. But yeah, I'm feeling a bit of that. I love the Fowler comparisons. You know, when I think of Fowler, I think of that fox in the box type player who is full of elegance and charm in his own right. But yeah, the first half did not make for some great 4 a.m. viewing. Nearly lulled me back to sleep, but I hung in there. And I'm glad I did. It's an incredible header. It's from nearly 12 yards out in the end. It was a weird thing because Trent was complaining about where their wall was because he didn't think the wall was 10 yards. And he's like, screw it. I'll just put my cross I just won't cross over the wall. I'll make the cross more shallow and lower. And that's exactly what he did. And yeah, you know, it's just one of those headers that impossible to save. Conrad, I get why you say you don't think he's a killer per se. You know, there's been so much debate over what is Jota. Is he a left wing? Is he a striker? Can he be a false nine when we need him to be? Is he a target man? Is he a running behind player? I do not care. I don't care because he is a brutally effective footballer.
That's the word.
He is, and that is the epitome of what we are in Klopp's system.
And he's consistently improving as well. Like you can tell he's adding stuff to his game. Like
exactly.
With the link up as well.
Yeah, he's consistently effective, whether that's doing nothing all game and then scoring 2 goals in the second half, whether that's linking play up successfully over 90 minutes, depending upon which Jota shows up each week, he is consistently effective, and that's all I can ask of
Very
him.
good point.
Big K. 59th minute. Jurgen Klopp turns to his young prodigy who's been out. How many days, people? Fuck's sake, man. I had it written down, but
4 months.
no,
100
days. Days. Hit me days.
106.
No, there's more than that. Someone told me 176. Someone in the chat will get to it.
Nah.
Yeah.
It feels like a lifetime ago. I will say that.
It was like a lifetime ago. Big K, Klopp has had enough of Naby Keita and Curtis Jones. I shouldn't say it like that. It's probably planned, pre-planned to give them 60 minutes, right? On the 60th minute, he turns to his young prodigy, 146, 147. Yeah, told you, 147. I won. I was closer. So I get first dibs on the draft.
No. I have a trivia question. And we're gonna go off that.
Okay.
Do
I
that.
think I'm closer. Come on, I get first pick in the draft. I'm just
love
putting it out there. But Big K, he turns to the young prodigy Harvey Elliott, and he turns into his surprise star signing of January. And we know our January signings are usually sparklers, apart from last season's.
Oof.
Replaces Curtis Jones, Naby Keita, and these two people come on the pitch. How did you feel, man, seeing them appear on the pitch? Tell me about your emotions. I was so emotional for Harvey, especially Harvey. Yes, Diaz is the glamour attacker forward, but so good to see Harvey back.
So good to see Harvey Elliott back, and you know, the biggest compliment you could give the boy, because he's still a boy, is that he had such a bad injury. He's come back, and you know, forget about the fact that Klopp has brought him on to get some minutes. He's gone back into training, and Klopp has decided that this boy is coming straight back into the team. So it's not what he's done today, it's what he's been doing since he's been back with the squad. And that tells you everything you need to know about the quality of this player, because you know, he bursts into the first team. It's like, imagine anything that you've been trying to achieve for the last 10 years of your life. What, he started football at 7, 8 years old, right? So the last 10 years of your life, right? You've been going, you finally get to the pinnacle of what it is that you want to do, and it just gets ripped away from you in a heartbeat like that. And football is a ruthless sport. It's a ruthless game. 1 minute you are, you know, the cock in the ring, or you know, just, you know,
I don't know where we're going with this. I don't even know with this. I don't even know where we're going with this. I'm trying to cover my face, but I'm the host. I can't cover my face. Like, first we had Evan's impression of Avi, and I don't know what you.
Anyway, first of all, you're the golden boy, the man of the moment, right? And then the next,
you're on the pedestal. You're on the pedestal. You're doing well, and then.
And Conroy, come in, man. Come in, Conroy. Help him out here.
No, I don't know the specific phrase, but I get what you're saying. You're on. Everything's going right. You're smashing it.
And boom, and then the next thing you know, it's all taken away from you. So for him to be back in this team as quickly as he is, like, again, a hot take, because it's Sunday.
Oh yeah, go on.
He starts against Leicester, and I don't see him losing his place for a long time.
Yeah.
So because it links to something that I found really interesting about Klopp, when everyone was like, "Oh, now Klopp is being ruthless. Now Klopp is being." Klopp is probably one of the most ruthless managers I've seen at Liverpool Football Club, for the simple reason is that man, when he gets an 11 that he likes, he will pick that 11 over and over and over again until they start breaking down. That's his ruthlessness. Klopp's, I will be surprised if his main 11 players are fit. All the other players are there to step in. Like he said before, they're there to step in when needed, right? For injuries, for situations, for people getting banned, etc. But that 11 is his 11, and Harvey Elliott is in that 11. And he'll be straight back. He'll be straight back. So that honestly, that's the biggest compliment I can give him. Like, the guy's not even 20 yet, and he has made a man who's won Champions League, Premier Leagues, all this. They're one of the best managers in world football. Basically, turn around and say, "You're already ready. You're ready to come back. You're ready to come back now, and you're ready to come back where you left off," which is incredible.
Is this what you meant?
Cock of the walk. Yes.
I've never heard that.
Cock of the walk. Yes. Thank you, man.
Sonny, can you come back with an explanation of that? Because I've never heard of it. and Conroy hasn't, and
I've never heard that.
Evan definitely hasn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
No, we
I
don't-
say this all the time. This is my catchphrase. It's my
That's the name of his YouTube channel, Soccer God.
the soccer cock of the walk.
That's a free title right there. Cock of the walk. Evan.
I like soccer cock of the walk.
I didn't mean it like that. Oh, no, sorry.
Soccer cock.
Okay,
Nice.
okay,
Soccer.
okay.
I didn't mean it like that.
It's a term for the
Yes.
we know it for him. We've got there now. For him, always knows these ones as well. By the way, he's a very wise man. Very wise man.
Love that.
Yeah, Conroy. I'm going back of what Keith said. I was so mighty impressed with his little cameo, man. Apart from his goal, which I don't know if it's going to be your turn when we talk about it, but his general, as soon as he come onto the pitch, he's just link up play, he's just touch. It's like he's never been away. And for me to say that against again another very physical Cardiff team, because one thing about them, they were fucking physical today.
Yeah.
You know, they were out there to try to bully and intimidate, but obviously it didn't work. I had a beaming smile every time when that substitution happened. For the rest of the half an hour, I was smiling throughout.
Yeah, I was a bit. See, when he came on, I was a bit like, it's so funny because like I know how it works, and he's going to be given the all clear to play, and he's not going to be like have any twinges or stuff. But I was still a bit like, oh, watch yourself, you know, which is like just crazy in the sense of like they're not going to, if he's got any like things that are not 100%, they're not going to play him, if you know what I mean. I always say with Harvey Elliott, we need the press, the brutality against other teams. Like, one, that's going to happen. It's football. They're going to try and do that's going to happen. And secondly, he's played a full championship season. So that's why there's a lot to be said for loaning certain players into the championship, because really we go on about the Burnley game he had this season, but that's going to put him in the right stead. That's a good thing. And you have to expect that, because you always, I don't know if you heard that, some car sounds like the motorway just went past there. But yeah, I just think like in general, just like he's used to that. But I was a little bit apprehensive. I shouldn't have been, but just in general, because he had a bad injury. But yeah, he slots right in. He offers something different as well. It's slightly different the way he plays. Obviously, being left-footed in that type of 8 position there, or even if you want to say higher up at times, that just offers us a different avenue. I will, as I've in the past said, like I always kind of say this as well, I think he's unbelievable. Like his potential is just right up there. Probably players similar who you can maybe try to look to copy. I know it's not the same position, but if you look at like a Pedri, what he's done, the amount of games he's played, I think that's the next step for Harvey Elliott in the Premier League, because let's not be around it. He's only actually played overall, I think, 4 games. So it was like half an hour at Norwich, 3 games. Then he had injury, obviously, maybe 4.5, which has been unbelievable. Do not get me wrong. And Klopp's playing him in shows how good he thinks of him. But the next step for him will be that kind of consistency in the season and see if he keeps in the team, which I think he will. And I think as well, I've added this before, if he does hit a spell of not being great every game, that's going to happen. He's very young. But the signing from Fulham is showing why so many teams wanted him, similar to what maybe Cade Gordon could be in the future. Like this kid at 16 was remarkable, already ahead. And you could see right now that if all goes well, it goes to plan next season. Hopefully he'll get most of the rest of the season under his belt. He'll be good to go for the next 5 years for us. So hopefully that can happen.
I wonder.
Correct. Does he go to the World Cup?
For England? Calm down. No, like you need to why you build players up young so much? Like you've got players like Saka and Foden who are like Premier League proven and like have done that. I think sometimes why do you always want to as soon as you get someone good, you build them up to drag them back down? Like just for me, what is he's in under 21 squad? I think. Yeah,
he that's his current.
Do you not think, guys, we sometimes do this though? We sometimes build, if it's a Liverpool youngster who's great and he is amazing, he's a one-off. You not just want to like kind of keep him away from that for a bit and just let him focus on us.
I'm 100%. I'm with you, Conroy. I mean, it's no secret how I feel about international fixtures. So obviously, I could care less if Harvey Elliott never plays another cap for England in my life. You know, I mean, I just don't. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be a.
God save
selfish,
the Queen, baby.
You know what I mean?
God save the Queen, man.
God save the Queen,
God save the Queen. Not for me. The players that play for England have to be playing Premier League, have to be playing Champions League football, and have to be fighting for the Premier League title. So my thing with Harvey, and I agree with what you're saying, Conroy, but the one thing I will say is if he does what you say, which is maintain that level, like a Pedri, then absolutely he has to be in the starting 11 going into Qatar because he's
Sorry, if I'm thinking summer, that's my fault. Sorry.
Football. No, he's playing football right now. I believe a higher level than a lot of he is consistent.
It's December as well, Keith. Sorry, I'm getting mixed up, mate. I'm thinking summer there. That's my fault. Sorry.
Oh no, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like that's where I think that like he is good enough. He is good enough now to go to that extra step. So that's why I asked you about the England. Like, could he play?
Do you know what though? See if he has those runs. You've got a point because what I would say about that Spain team with Pedri, it's like that done him good being in that young player of the tournament. So yeah, that was going to be very interesting actually, Keith. I was forgetting. I'm thinking summer, but it's December. So we'll come back to that. I think it could be an interesting one, but I would say England's talent pool right now is amazing. But
it is amazing. England's talent pool is amazing, but as Neil says, brilliant segue. He says Harvey, Diaz, Thiago, Jota, Salah, Mane, filthy porn. And Nevin, you have the privilege to speak about Luis Diaz because he comes in and he looks like he's been part of this attacking, fluent formation, one touch into play for years, and it's absolutely just a minute start. Absolute the start of his magnificent career. I've got no doubt it's going to be. He gets down that touchline. You see so much of that Bobby tenacity, the Sadio Mane tenacity, what Klopp fucking wants from his forwards. You do not let the fullback rest there. And that's exactly what Lewis does. Hounds him, presses him, gets the block in. And then the bit of filthy porn with the quick feet. Man, talk to me, brother. Talk to me.
Yeah, the little La Croqueta to send the ball across the 6-yard box. Obviously, that's the big talking point. But for me, the most impressive part of his short cameo was how we talked so much about those wide triangles. Obviously, Henderson, Trent, Salah, Robertson, Thiago Mane. For me, I was most impressed with the fact that he sort of knew where to be in those triangles. He sort of knew where to stand and how the passing rotations were working. He had a really base understanding of our patterns of play. And for me, that signifies a player who's hungry. It obviously signifies a high game IQ. And obviously this is the one. Yeah, this for me is what I was most impressed with. I was also impressed, like I said, that he gets, subbed on, the sun's shining. It's a beautiful day. And within 5 minutes, there's a torrential downpour and it's raining sideways. Welcome to England, mate. And then he gets stamped on, he gets a nice little shiner for his efforts. And let me be perfectly candid. If he was hurt in the way that I thought he was hurt when he went down, you guys would never see me again because I would choose a different sport and I would move on. I'm not going to do it again. I can't do it again. I literally do not have. I'm weak, guys. I'm weak. I can't do it again. So yeah. I'm glad I'm still here. It's so great to still be here doing the Red Fellas with you guys because you guys would have been down to 4 Red Fellas if that had happened. Anyways, welcome to England. I think he had the full spectrum. He got a nice little cleat to the knee. He experienced all 4 seasons in 20 minutes, and he, got a goal contribution on the board. So there we go.
He gets a goal contribution, and the ball falls at the feet of Taki. It doesn't fall at the feet of Taki. Taki makes the ball fall at his feet, if you know what I mean. Taki makes that movement, that drive towards the ball because the defender's in charge there, or should be in charge.
NG, I think it's the Cardiff player. NG, the right back has the ball, I think. Yeah, actually a decent game.
No. I'm talking about the guy Taki beats to the ball who's too
apologies.
Despite Taki's despite what we've said about Taki, guys, is Keith still there? Are you there, Keith?
Yep.
Despite what we've said about Taki in previous shows and possibly coming to the end of his Liverpool career this summer, whatever. He's done what he was supposed to do, people.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I can't disagree. I can't disagree with that. He's our 6th or 7th choice attacker, and look at his stats. The numbers are very simple. It's very black and white. I think you're right, Chris.
What I loved about that goal, to be honest with you, that is a lung-busting, old-school Steven Gerrard type goal, running in.
Yeah, or Lampard.
Wanting that ball, wanting it more than everybody else. And you know what? Sometimes in small moments, you can, like, a small moment can paint a bigger picture. And the fact that he had a desire to get there first. He scored when he went out with Japan. He pretty much given in the League Cup because he's our top goal scorer in the League Cup. Not only has he kind of come in here to come in here to do what he's supposed to do, he's doing it when he gets his chances to do it. And I suppose if that's the level that he's comfortable at, like Divock Origi was many years ago, does he get kept on to be this type of player that comes in and is useful for cup games and this, that, and the other? Great goal, great opportunity. I've always said I don't believe that Jurgen Klopp trusts him enough to be a big player at Liverpool, but I think that he's done enough. He's doing things this season that's justifying his wages. Let's put it that way, with the opportunities that he gets. His minutes per goal makes him look like he's probably, if you did it by that, he'd probably be up there with some really good players this season because of the fact that he doesn't play a lot. So shout out to him, and long may it continue.
It's a tough one, isn't it? There's so many selection dilemmas and sort of squad dilemmas coming up this summer. It's mad. Because
you know what's going to be the baddest thing?
He could be the new Divock, if you know what I mean. Like Divock move on and he step into the 5th, 6th attacker's role type thing. I don't know.
I think it's there for him. I'm interested. Here's a question: how ruthless is Jurgen Klopp? Because Taki Minamino is the top goal scorer in the League Cup. Does he play him in the League Cup final?
Oh, no chance.
To be honest,
I
think he does. To be honest,
no.
No.
Here's the thing. How many? It's been so long since we've been to a domestic cup final. We actually don't know how much Jurgen Klopp actually cares. But here's
Chelsea will go full strength.
Yeah, I know. But are you guys ready? Are you guys ready for this?
It's a hot take.
No, it's not a hot take. It's a stone cold fact. Who has more goals in all competitions? Takumi Minamino or Lionel Messi?
It's the same. It's the same because Messi scored tonight. It's the same.
Ah, dang it! That was.
Conrad's got you back.
I think he's got one more now because Messi got assist and a goal.
That's bullshit. All right, my stat was cool 12 hours ago when I saw it on Twitter from someone smarter than me. All right.
That's what happens when you're in a.
Literally, this is in my house. Literally, it's my cup holder,
What is this? Okay, Conroy's picking last in the draft. Conroy's going last in the draft.
So that stat is a good stat. Like all jokes aside, Messi done it tonight, but like that actually does show you. But like Minamino is so effective. You talk about effectiveness, but like people keep saying, what does he do apart from score goals? But genuinely, that's a great trait. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'll take that every day of the week. And it's
can I say something that I've noticed? I think just about Taki in general. I have never seen a player who is so effective in and around the box. But as soon as you take him out of that zone, I've never seen somebody more useless. Watching him try to do anything. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to be honest, guys. I love him to death. I love every Liverpool player to death. But watching him try to do anything on like the halfway line, for example, and then the stark difference between the quality he has there, between his quality in the box, it's just the most night and day. It's the most skewed thing I've ever seen.
Other formation would suit him. Like I still think you'll go to another team and you see. Like, do you know what I mean? These qualities, like I don't know. He's a good technical player. Just I agree with you, Evan. It's like you never know where he should play in our system. But you know what? He scores. Can I just add, Chris, as well? See with that goal, all comes from Jota's pressing. He's intellectual pressing, as we say, on that right back. That then Diaz comes along. It was just Jota again deserves a bit of praise in that goal as well.
No, absolutely. But sticking with you, Conroy, Taki gets rewarded. With that by being substituted.
And see that every day of the week, Chris. You just scored. You feel amazing. You come on.
And he gets replaced by James Milner, and Tsimikas, who I thought was my star man before that, gets replaced by your star man, Robbo.
I
And
was surprised
Robbo,
at that, to be honest. I was surprised about Robertson on. But
no,
maybe
I
just
understood
relax.
that. I understood that. Rhythm. They
Yep.
needed some game time, needed
Less,
rhythm.
yeah.
The fact that we got 5 subs allowed, I knew that was going to happen. Robbo's not on the pitch 5-6 minutes, and he whips in a cross. You know, the defender slips and it falls, or is caressed by Harvey Elliott. Take it away.
Yeah, so the ball comes in, as you said, the defender slips, he takes it down, and I think I'd call it, and you said this, Evan, you tweeted this as well, this is not my tweet, this is your tweet, you said it's a Torres-esque finish, like the one he'd done against, I want to say Arsenal, but it may have been another game, may have been Inter Milan, like that, the kind of touching in the volley.
Mhm.
It's a stupendous finish, it really is, and ironic, it's so funny because we talk about Harvey Elliott, but that's his first goal, isn't it? That is his first goal. Am I
Yeah.
wrong? See, because he's had such a good start, but he didn't actually score. You forget that. So what a finish! And with the defender falling, guys, it actually makes the goal look better because it's like he's bent it round on with where the gap is.
Mhm.
It's outstanding finish and a great moment. The keeper's flat-footed, and it's just with the way it hits the net at the cop as well. First goal, what a feeling! And it just all the emotion he must have had as well into that single moment. You could see it like kind of beaming out of him. It was just a great moment for him personally, for his family. I saw the picture of his dad, the video of his dad in the stand as well.
Yeah.
Like he blew a kiss to his dad and he blew it back. So there's so much in that moment, more than just a 4th round FA Cup. To me, it was a huge moment in his career, to be honest, because all these good performances, but to score that first goal on the cameo back, just a great achievement. I'm not even going to talk about the stats with Robertson with assist. I'm going to leave that because today's not about that. It's about Harvey Elliott, right? And just the more I watch it, the better it gets, actually. I feel like first viewing it looked good, but then the more I watch it, you just feel like the confidence to take that down, not take another touch and try and whip it round, to hit it on the half volley. What a player. What a
Guys,
potential.
Who's he been training with, guys? Who's he been mentoring? Who's his mentor?
This is
Who's been guiding him? Who's he been watching day in, day out in training? Who's he been sitting on the bike watching outside training?
Virgil van Dijk. I'm joking. Virgil would definitely try.
Takumi Minamino.
Minamino.
Apparently. Yeah. The fox in the box, Takumi Minamino.
But
Hey,
it's-
can I ask just a quick question? Guys, am I crazy? Was it just an illusion, or does Harvey Elliott look like a few yards faster than you remember him being? Like just quick. He looked so fast.
I didn't think
Like,
he was that
is
slow, though.
It could just be an illusion, like a recency bias. We haven't seen him in 174 days. Thanks, chat.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. It was just me. I do not remember him being sort of that quick.
It was the
I don't
end
know.
of the game as well, though, isn't it? So they're going to be tired as well. So
Fresh legs, second half. Yeah, you're
I
right.
definitely thought he looked a bit stocky. Stocky is not a good word to use because that could be construed as
Compact.
I thought he looked a bit bulkier, maybe.
Did you? I felt the opposite. I actually thought he looked a little bit
okay.
lighter, to be honest. Not much difference, but he's naturally quite I'd say stocky is the right term. I don't think that's really offensive term, is it? He's quite like broad shoulders for a young clog guy. Not as broad as Shaqiri, but still quite broad.
You know what? The one thing that I noticed is he walked into the team like he belonged there. This wasn't the player that I suppose we remember when he first came in, where it's kind of like, well, okay, playing for Liverpool now, finding your feet. I think when you have that confidence, that your touch is confident, the choice of passes, now he comes back in knowing that the decisions that he makes on the football pitch are respected by the best of the best. I think when you come in with that type of confidence against tired legs as well, he looks a lot more like he'll try things more now, knowing that he belongs and he knows
through balls, etc., and stuff like that. Yeah, definitely.
Hey, Grizz, can you pull up Red Steve's comment?
Yeah,
again?
literally that. I just do it because Big K was talking. I didn't want to cover his face.
Gotcha.
But here we go. Evening, Regs. Can't hang around. We'll give a listen to him. Make sure you do. Nice one, Red Steve. You probably got work in the morning. Nice one. Just dropping in to give the boys a like. And Harvey's had a sprint coach.
I remember. See, thank you for reminding me, Steve, because I now remember seeing that headline on Twitter, because I think that was one of the big things they worked on last summer with him, is they put him on a sprint program. I do remember seeing that now. Shout out Red Steve. You guys have better memories than me.
Yeah, absolutely. Neil said in the super chat, and he says, "So what is our go-to midfield now?" I don't like these ones, but I know you do. I know Big K likes these ones. He said his midfield for many weeks when everyone's fit, and I think today's sort of confirmed, possibly in your mind. What's your go-to midfield? Talk to us.
Yeah, 100%. Is it Evan first? Evan, you go first.
No, sorry. I'm just like that's such a good question because I genuinely don't know.
For me, Thiago, Fabinho, and Harvey Elliott. That will be the three, 100%.
See that, Keith? That was my gut, right? But on the flip side, that midfield is getting absolutely murdered in transition against a team that's willing to take the game to us. You know what I mean? Against the better teams, against like Bayern, Man City, against good teams in the Champions League or the better teams in the Premier League. I think that is attractive a brand of football that midfield would play. I think that would get absolutely murdered in transition. And as you guys know, I'm a big advocate. Yeah, go ahead.
Because I want to answer that point you made there about transition. I just don't think that with Fabinho and Thiago in the two, we give up.
Oh, Big K's Wi-Fi's. It looks like Big K's in Dunfermline as well tonight.
Hey, Keith, I know where you're going. Yeah, I think you're back. Can we hear you now, Keith? All right. I can hear Keith. Can you guys hear Keith?
No, I can't hear him.
No.
Okay. Dang. I thought we were gonna make it through a whole REDFELLAS episode without him being on.
He's back.
Are you back, Kate?
Am I
Say
back?
something.
Yeah,
you're back. Okay.
I wasn't even on mute. This is a setup.
No, it's not. But go on. You were saying something. Finish your point, bro.
Still counts as a mute.
Still counts.
No, the only thing I was going to say was it's interesting you were saying about transition, and for me, I believe in what I've seen. I think Klopp feels the same. Is that the Fabinho and Thiago in the two? I feel and Elliott in the 8. These three are the best players that we have at keeping the ball in situations and avoiding transitions and not making decisions where we force the ball necessarily, where we put crosses where we shouldn't need to put crosses, where we try and dribble maybe when we don't necessarily need to dribble. Like, I believe the ball is at its safest with these three in this position. And as I said, for me, what I've seen with the way Klopp's picked it, that for me against Leeds, that was the first glimpse of the future, and that was it. And we played a really good game until Harvey Elliott went off, and that was where I see the direction of it going. Because obviously Fabinho, because Thiago doesn't get enough credit. He puts in in transition when teams are trying to counter attack us. He puts in a shift defensively alongside Fabinho. He protects. He definitely puts in a shift, Keith. I just don't think he's got the actual physical prowess to be effective against certain opposition. But he does if he's got Fabinho next to him.
Okay, I think I agree with you now. I retract, because I've gone on record on this show before and said that the Fabinho Thiago as a duo was so good it doesn't matter who you put in that right side of midfield slot. I've literally said that 12 times on this show. So I think you're right. I'm gonna stick with you on that. I think Harvey Elliott can only be a complementary thing. But I will say, I do think in a big game like against City, against Bayern, someone who we consider our equals, with all due respect, I think Klopp would go for Henderson on that right side, because I do think that is a more balanced midfield. But I think in possession, in terms of like press resistance, a midfield of Thiago, Fabinho, and Elliott has so much quality that maybe you're not worried about Thiago or Elliott's physical profile. You know what I mean? This
is Evan. Both of you make brilliant points, and I'm intrigued by this conversation actually, because it's true. As Liverpool guys, as Liverpool fans, right, and we're talking about the midfield and the physical capabilities, especially in transition, and we're probably and I'm discussing the sort of the deficiencies, right? Whereas Keith is emphasizing the strengths. And if you look at the best team in the Premier League right now, Man City, you wouldn't say that, you take it, like, obviously Rodri is their Fabinho, and then they employ very much players in the mold of Elliott, Silva, Kevin De Bruyne. You could say Thiago-esque, maybe a bit more robust than Thiago. But what I mean is, Pep doesn't worry about transition. He controls other teams with their skill set, and I think that's what Keith is probably trying to convince us of. And I get absolutely what he's saying, but Conway wants to come in with something.
No, I think it's time will tell, to be honest. Every game's different as well. There'll be if you think we can just say that 11, numerous things happening, injuries, types of games, COVID, there's always stuff that each game, this is why we have a pre-match show to discuss all these things. So time will tell. I don't think it's as easy to say that's 11 for the rest of the season right now. We'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks or the next month or so. But you will see it. I would also just add to that point, and it's a really good point about Man City, but we aren't Man City. We don't necessarily play the same way. Like, as much, I've seen loads of tweets say Man City's football's turgid. That's great, but they don't care because they win lots of games of football. But it's not the same. There's similarities, but it's definitely not the same. So it's going to be interesting going forward, because I think the pressure resistance of Elliott allows that. However, there's certain games where I think for the way we play, you maybe need that robustness. You could counter-argue with that with, say, the way we're playing the 8th this season, not necessarily. However, even Evan said at times he feels like that doesn't work because it allows us it does work to a certain extent, but on the transition, it allows us to get our high line to be more exposed. I think time will just tell, guys, and I'll get back to this point later in the next couple of weeks.
Can I ask a question after you read that, Chris? Go
ahead. Neil says 2 solid ball winners behind Harvey and we flourish. And Jamrock 1975 Jamrock says Carvalho will play the Elliott role on the left. And very interesting. I actually believe that's Carvalho's best position. I've been fighting in my head, trying to work out what his best role is, and everyone's been telling me different things. And I've come to the conclusion, in my opinion, that's his best role going forward. Sorry, Evan, go for it.
I wanted to ask you three and sort of the chat in general. Forget about the midfield 3 for a second. Just individually, do you guys think that at the start of next season, in late August, Harvey Elliott will be an irrefutable starter? Do you think that trajectory is going to be the way to go? Obviously, I think I'm with you guys, and I'm expecting a huge midfield makeover in the summer, both in terms of, I think a few names could depart potentially just due to contract situations, and a few names could come in. But do we think Harvey Elliott between now and I guess May can show us enough to make us think that he is like one of the first names on the team sheet?
Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. I sorry, Keith, on you go, mate. On you go.
No, go.
Yeah, I don't think anyone becomes irrefutable in this team, and you're not going to get ahead of the Virgils, the Salahs. That's not going to happen. I'd say I get what you're saying, but I think the way football is now, you're always going to have people who can come in. Like Foden is genuinely one of the best young players in the world, and he doesn't even start every game. Like so, and look at some of the quality. Maybe Man City is a bad comparison. I just think even if you're in our midfield, I could be wrong. I don't think it's irrefutable. I feel like there's always certain games where maybe someone else is in better form and will get the nod. And I feel like you've got the status quo of Alisson, Van Dijk, Trent. You can maybe argue Robo Shimikas. Robo's kind of got back into that recently. And then you'd say Fabinho are your kind of 5. And yeah, possibly, but I still feel like it's not irrefutable. I still think he'll do very well. I still think there'll be other options. And I think Grizz might allude to as well, and you said, Evan, as well, in the summer, if we get a few signings in, specifically on maybe another 8 or someone who could play there, like how do you pronounce his name, Chouameni, anything like that, then that might add something to that as well. It might not allow him to play every game.
I think absolutely he will be irrefutably one of the in that midfield, probably one of the first picks, I reckon. As long as he continues the trajectory the way he goes. I think Jurgen Klopp stumbled a long time ago on the powers of the 8 with Coutinho. Then he kind of went back to a more workman horse-like, but he did do something once, and we all remember when Henderson kind of knocked on his door and said that he wanted to have more freedom, more opportunity to go up that right midfield side and be a part of the attack. And I always think that since then, when Henderson did have that good run, and since then, I believe Klopp has always been looking for the number 8 that player, that third midfielder, to be a lot more advanced. And I think Harvey Elliott is going to be the number one choice of a new type of midfielder that we bring in that particular position. And I think he's going to be the start of an evolution of this midfield. And I barring injury, as I said, from what I always see of Jurgen Klopp, he doesn't make changes. Pep Guardiola will change every 5 minutes, to the point where I think the guy's almost like Picasso. The guy's just, everything's going along a million.
He does, Keith, but he doesn't change in midfield, The midfield is Bernardo Silva, De Bruyne, and Rodri. Yeah, that's his three in midfield every single time.
And I believe that these top managers, they always talk about rhythm. They always talk about consistency. It's just lately the kind of comments Klopp has been making has made me believe that there is the main players, the main 11, and there are players that need to be ready to spot in. So what you say, Conroy, is spot on. It's never irrefutable, because football just doesn't work like that. There's always going to be niggles. There's always going to be injuries. But at the same time, one thing I do think is with Jurgen Klopp is he will pick that same 11 week in, week out. And a lot of us then have the debate about whether this person should be playing, whether that person should be playing. And then the 11 comes out and it's exactly the same 11 as last week. And we go through this cycle. So, yeah, long-winded answer to Evan's question. I absolutely think Harvey Elliott stays fit. He's not leaving that midfield this season.
Evan, do you want to answer your own question?
I think he does. I think the priority that Klopp has given Elliott, I just think he sees him as Götze 2.0, what Götze should have been, that project. You know what I mean? I think Klopp has been desperately unlucky in his managerial career with sort of the wonder kids that he's had under his belt. Götze, obviously, and I can't help but think that Klopp deep down thinks Adam Lallana should have been one of the best players he ever coached. You know what I mean? I don't think we ever saw what Lallana could have fully become here. So I think the stage that he's put Harvey on, the trust, he's put him into some big games, home to Chelsea, things like that. I do think Harvey Elliott will be extremely hard to displace from this midfield. And I honestly don't see us, if we do make midfield signings, I wouldn't assume that we would sign a player of that same profile. I think we would look more towards like a Fabinho rotational option, or another sort of like Henderson box-to-box type player. I don't think we would go buy another out-and-out number 10 per se, because that's not the profile that we're losing, is it? That's not what Milner is. That's not what Naby Keita is if he does end up leaving. I think Elliott's going to be a special player, and I did not think that 6 months ago. I did not think that I would be talking about Elliott as a midfielder. We haven't even talked about what he can potentially do in the front three if we asked him to.
I think you pretty much nailed my thoughts as well, Evan. I think the profile of player or midfielder that we're looking for in the summer will be more of the Fabinho, the more of a protector, destroyer type. Again, It's just my opinion at the moment, because I think the future, like Keith says, the future is with Elliott, Jones, and Carvalho once we get that totally over the line. So you can see the three young protagonists to that type of role, type of position. And then you've still got, obviously, I'm assuming we think Naby and Ox, only one's going to leave. So you've still got that, and then you've still got Thiago to be left to play in games that he fancies playing in. You know how royalty rolls. You know what I mean? If he feels like playing in a Champions League game, he can. But yeah, I think that's the way the future is for us. I definitely think Harvey Elliott has the keys to the kingdom, so to speak, and hopefully, he takes his rightful role. Guys, 3-1 win. They get a goal. Bobby does Bobby things throughout the game. Bobby loses the ball and they transition. Evan's favorite word. They transition and hit us because Milner hasn't got the legs. Hopefully, Chouameni has those legs to get back. You know what I mean? If we manage to get Chouameni, and that goal doesn't happen. But 3-1, we're through to the 5th round.
Yep, Norwich next round, Anfield.
That's the round of 16, right?
Yep, I think.
Guys, we had this debate in the morning, and Avi usually pisses me off anyway, but he pissed me off extra by saying, no, the next round is the quarterfinals.
No, it's round the
It's
16,
not.
then the quarterfinals, is it not?
Right. So I think he was trying to be clever in saying that Norwich
think
at
so.
home, that is the quarterfinals, like saying, disrespecting Norwich. Dean Smith has done a decent job since he's been there. He's made
Very
them-
good job. Very good
Exactly.
job.
So we should show them respect, right, Conroy? It's not a. We don't know what kind of team Klopp's going to pick, but we know we've got a squad to be strong, whatever. But it's not a walkover that it would have been 3-4 weeks ago.
Look at the first half today. If that doesn't show you Liverpool can be frustrating at times, then I don't know what will, because in that you've seen that Cardiff at home, no bother, and we play like that. We play flat. We can't break them down in the first half. That's not a one-off. That does happen. So you can't take any tie like it's a walkover, because I think Norwich, who did they beat? They won 1-0. I think Kenny McLean scored. Forgive me, I forgot. But Norwich would beat Everton. You know, they're definitely in a better run of form. And weird things happen in the FA Cup. Look at Bournemouth today beating Bournemouth. So we just need to stay focused, and we should get through. It's a good draw, and hopefully we'll see where we're at if we can get through the quarterfinals. And then, do you know what? The amount of hard runs we've had in the FA Cup, if we could have a nice little run to the semis, that would be beautiful.
Absolutely. Guys, can we get to 300 likes before we wrap up in the next few minutes? We're wrapping up. We're just going to do the man of the match discussion. So get to 300 likes, and that would be wonderful. No mention of Naby, Grizz. Come on, TMC. You must have missed the show, man. We mentioned Naby. I thought he was the most incisive passer in that first half out of a poor bunch. That's still not saying he was good, but he was the most incisive of passers in that first half. Who wants first dibs, man? Anything about man of the match? Anybody's got a good shout out and then a conclusive man of the match? I'm going to go to Big K first.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna go with Diogo Jota today. I think he scores the goal at a decisive point in the game. Gets the goal when we need it. Thought he looked threatening throughout the game. You know, he's always involved in some sort of chaos in the opposition's box. And you know, I don't think anybody really shined and really, you know, like you know, especially that first half. Like I said before, that first half was just terrible. I mean, you could have given it to Harvey Elliott if you wanted to for his second half cameo. It was literally like who was man of the 45 minutes today in that respect. But
30 minutes in his case.
Yeah. But if you were to look at the first half, Diogo Jota, you know, was lively. And again, like I said before, I place huge amount of emphasis in scoring the first goal in a game like that. And he got it. And that's what we needed. And that's what we paid the money for.
Before we go to Conroy and Evan, Adris Ashraf says, I have a trivia question for you guys. What has Salah and Mane? We like trivia questions because, we'll speak afterwards. What has Salah and Mane both got in common while playing for Liverpool?
They won the Premier League and the Champions League.
They both scored on their debut.
There's a lot of right answers, to be fair.
Exactly. What's your right answer, Adris? If you could tell us. Let us know, because there could be quite a few right answers.
They've both got 100 Premier League goals.
Exactly. Jamrock sends in a super chat and he says, with Carvalho, I believe Naby and Knox become redundant and can be moved on and replaced with a box-to-box like Gravenberch and Bellingham. There's a lot of work there. To get Gravenberch and Bellingham through the door, my friend. But yeah,
I'm sure we'll go into that more in a show in the future as well, Grizz, with the midfield options.
Loads of answers trying to come through with that. Both scored in a Champions League final, both lost an AFCON final. I don't know.
How many likes are we at, Grizz? How many likes we got?
Where's Mustafa? Mustafa, can you tell us how many likes we're at, bro? Mustafa's the mod that's in charge of the likes. Can you let us know how many likes we're at?
I'm giving Harvey Elliott my man of the match, by the way, just because I thought his sub was.
Get man of the match for 30 minutes. Come on.
Why? Why not? Why not? Keith just said I could. You were gonna give it to Robertson.
I'm not gonna give it because that's.
You were gonna give it to Robertson. He says that like he wasn't gonna give it to Robertson. Anyways, I'm giving Harvey Elliott.
I wouldn't give him half.
I'm giving a very cheesy ceremonial man of the match to Harvey Elliott on his return, because it was one of the worst days of my life when he went down. And
Klopp said that. He goes, I was actually one of the worst days in football. That is huge.
It was because it was a time when we were all fretting about the succession plan and the post-Klopp period, and Elliott was and still is obviously a huge part of that. And if he had gotten a career-ending injury after playing 3 games in the league for us, that would have been devastating. That would have set us back a few years in a sense. You could make that argument. But yeah, screw Conroy, 30-minute man of the match. Harvey Elliott.
It's up to you.
Nah, yeah, it's okay. 30-minute man of the match. Hopefully I will be giving out man of the matches for 15 to 20 minutes in the future. So be ready, Conroy, because it's
listen, it's a game of emotion, Amit.
Yeah,
It's
man.
a game of emotion. We're allowed to.
Sometimes I think I'm too sensible and like down the line with stuff. You listen, get emotions. Eh?
Oh, cold. Some people.
Cold's probably right.
I've been called cold on this show. I've been called a hippie on this show for saying I don't like it when Atletico Madrid surround the ref. So I'm trying to be more emotional. I'm trying to be like you guys. I'm trying to embrace the domestic cups, and I'm doing it for you guys. I want you guys to know.
I love that.
Adris has got his answer. They have scored no goals between them in the league. Cup.
Wow.
And they're
Says
gonna-
everything about Jurgen Klopp there.
That's
to be honest.
a great stat though, that because it's the score for
fantastic stat.
Southampton and Chelsea. Is that what they mean? But that's brilliant. That's
So
a great stat.
actually, I have a note to go on top of that. Our last League Cup game that we played a few weeks ago, that was Allison's first appearance in the competition.
Yeah,
Yes.
mad.
That was another insane stat.
Guys,
You can
with
tell
22
Klopp's changing the domestic cups. He's heard Evan dismiss it and he's went,
Yeah,
no.
he's like,
we're about 20 likes away from 300, which is a fantastic, solid figure for the night.
Can I add a slight incentive, Grizz? If we get to 300, I will give a very, very brief debut of a new feature I am adding to the Premier League draft. How about that?
Can't go wrong.
Sounds good.
And
This draft is going to be iconic.
Dude, it's
Evan's been working on it for about a week. It's amazing.
I've put, and I gotta shout out my dad too, who came up with a bunch of the categories for the
Oh
draft.
shit!
And and I got some outside help. I brought in some consultants.
Jamrock sends in a super chat, says Thiago has one more season and Hendo play will deteriorate. Hope not. Let's not wish our players to deteriorate. Let's just let them leave gracefully and as legends and icons. Let's not always have to drag them down to driving them out of our club and they're shit and they're finished and we need to turf them. It's an eventual evolution. It's natural evolution. Players have sell-by dates. Every great player has that, So let them go out in grace. Conroy, any hot takes for man of the match?
Do you reckon Henderson will get a coaching job, Grizz? I could see Milner leaving, but I could see Henderson getting a coaching job.
No, I think the other way around.
So where do you think Henderson would go?
Just go. I mean, I think we forget. Sorry, just to butt in. I think we forget that when people retire, they just want to go live life. Think about how much they missed out on just doing the professional.
No, but I'm just thinking
thing.
of Henderson's age, though. He's got a 3-year deal there. He's probably.
Oh, you're talking about his playing career. Okay, I thought you were
yeah.
saying post-retirement. I was like, why not just go kick it at home for a few years?
Yeah, well, maybe touch that more. I could see players like that doing something like that, whereas Ox and Keita, I think they could go on. But sorry,
maybe Henderson might go to the MLS. Who knows? Might go retire there, get a big check, come back
maybe. But we'll touch that a bit
more.
He
doesn't come across like. Does he come across like someone who would go to the MLS? I don't know.
I think that when you're a footballer who has won a Champions League, won Premier League, you can still get paid very, very well as a footballer, like in other leagues, in terms of especially, and British players over the years have done exactly that. Steven Gerrard's done it, Wayne Rooney's done it, Frank
Rooney
Lampard's
smashed it. Rooney absolutely smashed it. MLS.
So, but it's just a random one I throw out there because it's all hypothesizing.
Well, Insigne's going, Shaqiri's going. Well, I guess we'll talk about that more, but it's an interesting debate in the future. But on my match, Jota for me, pivotal in his first goal, as Keith says, unbelievable header. The delivery's good. The header's amazing.
Not you. The likes. Sorry, not you. You take your time.
No.
Sorry, brother.
Lowry's good. It's just
don't you guys want to see the super sweet feature that I'm adding? Come on.
So the delivery was great. It's actually the commentators like, oh, the delivery's made. I'm like, the guy scored a header from 12 yards, mate. Honestly, what are you talking about? It's an unbelievable header, and the pressing was really good for the second goal as well that Minamino scored. Elliott, shout out, amazing. Diaz, shout out as well. It's kind of good to get him a good bit of physicality. I'm sure he's played in physical games, but to know what it's like, because we can't keep blanketing it. There's going to be physicality that's just going to happen in this league. But what I would also say, Shimikas as well, Grizz, I know you might talk about that, but Shimikas in their shout out, he's always solid and good when he comes in. His delivery again was good today. He had one game, I think, when he set pieces with corners, he had a bit of the Rob or Trent syndrome, but that's eradicated, so he was good today as well. But Jota for me.
Fair enough.
No,
Oscar.
That's not how it works, Oscar. That's not.
It's more fun. It's more fun. The best part of the first draft was Grizz getting Nolito in the bonus.
Oscar.
All right. So
there's a reason. Listen, I don't agree with it. After I used to share your thinking, but after the last draft, I see where these guys
when
are
Grizz says they put Aquilani as a sweeper, I thought this is the greatest draft ever.
Listen. I just want to say that this next draft, the general quality.
Before you explain it all, can you explain, because Klopp sipping Arsenal tears says, wasn't the draft supposed to be on Wednesday and then changed to a Friday, and so collective faults, right? No one individual takes the blame, right?
Yeah, except for Avi. It's pretty much Avi's fault exclusively.
Absolutely thrown him under the bus there.
Well, no, I mean, I'm throwing him under the bus because he was throwing us under the bus in the chat. Let's scroll up a couple minutes. The draft that will never happen. Crying face. False starts. The draft that will never happen. Yeah, so you get what you dish out, Avi.
Do you know what I will say, though, Klopp Tears, is that it's nice to see you looking out. And trust me, it will be worth the wait.
It will be worth the wait. And I will say that...
I have to shout this out. Yeah, sorry, I have to shout this out for Evan, right? We're on the chat and we're doing work and stuff like that. And Evan genuinely will take an idea for a thumbnail or whatever this, and before you know it, he's like, I'm just like, how has he done that? He's created all this, and we only see a lot of messages in the chat. So I have to shout out to Ev. When you take an idea, mate, honestly, I always the way you go with it is pretty impressive. So guys, get us to the 300 likes, because this draft is going to be. Honestly, we love every show, but the draft is when you have to find a place to put Aquilani in the back three. If that doesn't tell you how good you have to have your football knowledge, I don't know what does.
The draft has to be a headache, guys. It has to be, yeah.
Before Evan explains to us or gives us how much hints he's allowed to, or give us any, Nonya Business says, Nonya Business.
Wait, you didn't get that?
It's been I've just done a 4-hour stream.
Yeah, it's a long day. That
And
AFCON game lasted forever.
Do you know what I mean? I want to see an underrated players draft. Shout us under the comments in the chat and under the comments in the video when it goes up. Shout us any ideas that you want to see.
Yeah, we've mentioned that as well. Overrated, underrated draft. That'd be quite good.
Shout us any ideas that you want us to do. But Evan.
So yeah, just going off what you just said, Grizz. If you watch the first draft, you would know that there's some rounds of the draft that are extremely overpowered, where there really isn't a bad choice, and then there's some rounds of the draft where it's like, who is the least stinkiest shit. So we try to keep a balance. And so I will say to guys, if you're familiar with how the draft works, it's done in categories with a round. 4 players each round. Give us ideas for categories, because that is what will keep the draft fresh. We can obviously move away from the Premier League if we eventually draft every single Premier League player ever known to man, because we will get to that point eventually where we'll have to start switching it up. But I will say to Oscar, who was asking for better players in the draft, I will say there has to be stinky rounds in the draft, 100%. And it has to be that way. But to reassure you, Oscar, I did make an extra effort to make sure that this draft is a little more balanced. The overall quality is slightly higher, but like I said, there has to be stinky categories. This
is a stunning suggestion.
Eunice, what a shout, honestly.
And Eunice, thank you. I am screenshotting this right now. Done, and it's going in the next.
You know how hard
draft.
it is to think of fresh ideas, honestly, Eunice.
I was struggling at the end when I was trying to just come up with the last couple categories.
We could do a show on that. We could do just a genuine show on that as a draft on that one.
Yeah, but you're lucky. Pops came in to save you, Evan, and gave you some great ideas.
Yeah, absolutely.
Keith, no REDFELLAS podcast.
Of course.
Can end. I've covered your face, so if you want to read it, and then I'll take it off, and then you can answer it.
Yeah. it's his last match. And you know what? The spear versus spear match got taken away from us, so I'm glad it's finally happening. Funny enough, interesting point for all the viewers is that I believe this is at the Saudi show. Vince McMahon has like a £20 million deal to do shows in Saudi Arabia. They've actually had titles change in Saudi Arabia, and they don't have titles change anywhere else outside the US. So there's a few little interesting facts on how how much involved they are in sports. Like they invested £20 million to have Vince McMahon come over there and do shows for 10 years.
Amazing.
Little backstory there.
There you go. Always a backstory for our WWEF, wherever they are, people in the house. Guys, we got to wrap this up. We've gone over the 2-hour limit, believe it or not. I know.
Did Evan, just to shout out, because Sedum's reached 300, are you going to...
It'll only take like 20 seconds. I'll show you guys real quick. Let me share my screen. And here we go. You guys can see my screen now. Or let me add it in. Chris has to add it in, I think. All right, so I'm just gonna mouse over here, guys. Welcome to the Wheel of Fortune. As you can see, this will be the last. This will be the last step of the draft. Essentially, at the end of the draft, after other things I have added in, you will have the option. You will have the option to swap out who you think is your subjectively worst player for a player from the Wheel of Fortune. I know you only see like 30 names on the screen, but it's actually a pool of close to 700 Premier League players. What? So, and as you can see, just from you can have anything from Alex Iwobi to something great like Vincent Kompany. So let's just give it a quick little spin. Let's see who we get. It could be very good. It could be very.
Let's just say this is my one because
Yeah. So this is who Grizz is gonna get if he swaps out. Oh, Grizz. No way. What an insane pull. What an insane pull. Look, and if you went one more, you've gotten De Bruyne too. That's pretty insane.
Amazing.
Evan, honestly, this is wow.
Guys, if that doesn't whet your appetite, nothing will. You're in for a tremendous.
I spoiled it. Avi saw his name on the wheel. Yeah, Avi's on the wheel. Sorry. you might get.
I saw that.
So be careful. Hey, it's a huge risk though, because let's say you have a really shitty left back, right? And you want to try to get a better left back. Let's say you get like De Bruyne. Well, you would have to completely shift your team to work.
We'll find a way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Guys, if that doesn't whet your appetite, now obviously the next question we're gonna get flooded with is when is this? Well, we've got a lot of games. Liverpool back in four competitions, so we'll find a day, we'll find a night where we're all available. Because the beauty of it is we all want to be on it. Because Evan's hosting this one, and so we need the 4 players. So, everyone's busy, timetables, whatnot. But we will get there, and we will notify you guys. Subscribe. Like on your way out if you haven't. This has been the REDFELLAS podcast. We have done a thorough analysis on the AFCON, thorough analysis of the mental and physical states of Mohamed Salah and Sadio Mane, and also an in-depth analysis of the Cardiff Liverpool FA Cup tie. All just for likes. We don't ask for anything else. Just likes and love in the chat, which we have got. Thank you. People still saying great show. Absolutely, bro. Yeah, man. We appreciate you guys as much, honestly, if not more. But we gotta call it a night now. We're back. What day are we at? We're at Sunday. We're playing on Thursday.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We'll see the situation. If something Tuesday, Wednesday, if we can sort something, we will try. Otherwise, the pre-match will be on Wednesday. The post-match, of course, straight after the game will be Thursday, and we will catch you very soon. Conroy, lead us out, brother. Take care, everyone. Peace out.